Welcome in, everybody, as we are into our final game of week number 2 here in the VCS 2023 spring split. Saigon Buffalo is going to be taking on the Super Big Time Chickens as we get a bit of our zoo matchup once again here in the VCS. I'm Rebel Fox, back with you once again. And Mobby joining me. Mobby, how are you this morning?
Well, I'm doing all right. It's evening for me. It's
it's also
it's
night
morning
for you.
it's morning in an hour and 10 minutes technically.
I see. Okay.
But
Perfect.
we're doing all right.
That's wonderful.
Got to enjoy a good Cerberus beatdown in the first series, and now we're looking for hopefully something a little bit closer this time.
Yeah, we're stepping in with 2 of our other teams. I said this in the last one, and I'll see what your opinion on this is, which is like Wales, Cerberus, Secret, SBTC, Saigon, and even Flash in some extent are currently competing for playoff spots behind GAM for the moment, at least. And I know maybe it's a little bit presumptuous to say like all of them are 100% competitive, but given that we've had teams beating each other for no reason, it feels like we are in this massive wash of like teams that are like right in the mix trying to get into that playoff spot, and especially with Saigon down. No wins right now, only series lost, didn't play this week at all. Is the only series they have of the week. And I think SPTC is actually in a similar boat where they didn't play until this week as well. Both of these feel like necessary wins. SPTC to climb up into that playoff spot territory, try to take something away from Team Secret, and Saigon just to get on the board.
Yeah, Saigon has had a rough time of it. Their first series against Secret was just a mess of technical issues. So that's a big issue. But their very first game their very first game in that series looked clean. They were able to take a game off Cerberus and arguably could have taken that second one. But yeah, it's panned out. They're 0-2. They are desperately looking to get on the board, because if they're 0-3 by the end of week 1, that's just week 2 rather. That's just not a good look, and really puts the pressure on, especially as you still have GAM, still have Wales to face. Like, SBTC might be one of the first weaker team that you can try and take it down. Like, if you take down SBTC, the rest should be at least just as tough as them.
Yeah, and SBTC, I think even they aren't really slouches. They're right there in that kind of thick of it as well. We don't have a good bearing on how good that this team is, because again, they've played 2 series. They played against Team Secret in week 1, and then they had the kind of makeup game on Thursday of this week that got thrown in front of everything, which was the most. It was a very wacky series, very like weird series, and it ended up with the 2 Wales winning out 2-0 over top of them. So we're so hard to get a beat on this SPTC squad as well. That understanding, like trying to make a prediction of who wins here is a really kind of strange situation. Is there anyone you're looking at in these 2 teams to really like pop off? I think you were talking about bot lane before we started off here.
But yeah, I think bot lane for the most part has been the most sort of consistent for both of these teams. Somehow across these games, Taki has walked away with nearly a 9 KDA because he's just not dying somehow despite the losses. And we know Shogun and Taki are absolute world class talent that have been looked at in their international performances. And in the meantime, on the other side, Slater and Paulette have also been doing just fine. They haven't been able to really step up and carry, but we know they can win the split as a duo. I feel a lot of the issues have come out of mid-jungle not interacting, especially against Wales. I don't know what they were doing with that Rumble mid, or putting Deal 1 on Seraphine just seemed weird.
Okay.
So
we have
looking to those 2.
We have some really interesting development. First, we're going to jump into draft. There's going to be a name that you might not recognize. This is something I'm so excited about. Saigon Buffalo has taken out BJ. I don't think necessarily because of the lack of talent of BJ. I think BJ is still a good jungler. Guri is somebody that got added when this roster started to look at CNJ, when they had that like potential takeover. Guri is a monster. Guri was playing inside of some of like I'm hoping I'm not butchering this pronunciation, was playing inside of some of like the VCS and some of those tournaments and such. Absolutely clowned Tom Rio, who just played, is probably one of the better players, on Box right now, which isn't saying all too much. And it's really funny because me and Yole had this discussion last game of being like, right now Box is our only team with rookies playing currently. Guri might legitimately take that if he's able to get enough games in to prove that he is rookie of the split. This is somebody that I have a lot of confidence in, and obviously so does Saigon.
This is Jane and Puddin Erasure, who both, I mean, they've shown up before, but they've only played like at most 6 games in the league, so they still count as rookies. They still have a fairly decent shot, but yes, hello Guri, nice to see you. And will you be playing the Gragas? Will Hassman be playing the Gragas? Will Froggy be playing the Gragas? Will Taki? We see this coming up a lot, this Jace Gragas duo, because they can just go anywhere and be whatever they want to be. It shows pretty much nothing in the draft.
Okay, so a lot of interesting things. First off, Ashe is one of the most banned champions inside the league, got through, and has been picked up first overall. That's going to Paulette almost certainly, especially now that we see that DNK, or that Callista has been taken as well, which is an interesting combination. Fiora has also been perma-picked by Enper, has not played a different champion all split. Now looking potentially at Aurelia or Renekton as 2 great champion grabs. Is going to be the Renekton, I think, opposed to anything else. The Jace has been really good for Saigon as well. Is there anything else kind of sticking out as not having been banned yet to you?
What hasn't been banned? Pretty much none of the bot laners, but so that's still a very option for Saigon Buffalo if they wanted to do it, but they're just gonna very quickly lock in the Scion and sort of just cement their top side. This gives SBTC a way to, shut down some of the lanes they don't want to play against. Maybe they can take out Lucian, take out Draven, things like that, and push Shogun into a more passive laner that can get bullied by this absolute monster duo of Callista Ashe.
Yeah,
assuming they're both bot lane. I've seen Callista move.
Yeah, Callista can move, and it's a sight. We've seen Callista move for Froggy before, and that was something else. Scion has been one of the few avenues of success for the Saigon roster. I think Hosmed's piloted it pretty well. Hosmed hasn't been having the same carry split that I think we've seen from him in the past, but has been doing some pretty solid work outside of that. I'm interested because they're taking like the Cerberus approach where they went their entire top side first. And now they're going to wait and they're going to hold their bot lane. Assumably first counterpick for Taki. Lucian is going to get... Does that mean Nami is just going to grab... Did we really just do this? Like they got slid Lucian Nami this late?
Yeah, it's gonna be the case. We saw the Aphelios taken away, which I feel sort of left them with if we want lane presence, our main options are Lucian, Nami, or a Draven. I think the Draven might have been the way to go, but this could be a Renekton for Dia. This would be a nice switch around because it still gets you that Renekton Jace matchup, which is just fine, and it lets you absolutely run through top lane. I think you might be discounting jungle Gwen as well because it's DNK playing. He'll play Yasuo jungle. He'll play anything in the jungle. I guarantee. All right, Ashe jungle. Here we go.
Ashe jungle. Here we go.
100% professional win rate. Never mind, it was season 4.
Massive. Okay.
Lee Sin. Okay.
All right. Insta lock with that one. Okay, so this turned out to be a really strange draft because it was like, okay, Saigon went their entire top side first, and they got a bot lane pairing that feels like they probably should have gotten it at like R1, R2 instead of getting that. So they get Gragas and they get Jace and they get Scion and they get Lucian Nami, which is a formidable combination of champions to grab up. So what do you make of SPT's composition against it, right? Like they've got the front line of the Renekton, but that's pretty much all they've got. And then they've got a lot of damage is really what they've kind of indexed into here.
I think they've found themselves with pretty great side lanes, with the Renekton and Gwen, if they match those correctly. Can absolutely ruin the day of Scion. And honestly, Scion, no matter who he goes up into, and with that double sort of physical damage side laners, they can itemize for that pretty comfortably. And then, the rest of the draft, I think, is very much DNK is going to sit bot lane, maybe bring the Renekton down every so often, and just try and snowball this Callista Ashe ahead. They have good pick potential throughout the game, and yeah.
They do. There's quite a bit of conflict, I think, going on. Is there anywhere you're looking specifically after like what we saw? Because Lee Sin, there's not a ton of CC if I recall. You do have like Callista ultimate and you got Ashe ultimate, but like that comes online a little bit later in the game.
You've got Ashe's entire kit.
You have Ashe's
I think the slow should be enough.
Set up for Lee Sin and things like that. Is that what you're expecting? Is just pure bot lane focus here with the double marksman?
Yeah, I think it's, if nothing else, the pressure and just hovering around there should be able to make it effective. we of course like to see kills. But
Of course. Did I hear Rift? Is that what I heard?
Rift?
Were we on Rift? All right. Yeah, we got Rift. We're going to be jumping into game number 1 here with Saigon Buffalo going up against SPTC Esports. Too many letters for me early in the morning. I'm already brain fried right now. But this is a little bit of an exciting thing. I still am so hyped about Guri actually stepping in. Now, the one thing I am a little upset about is in the past, Guri has been like a hard farming jungler. The thing that I recognize him for, again, was clowning Tomrio, and he did that on Graves versus Hecarim. They had like 2 or 3 mirror matches of that. And while Tomrio did win the map a couple of times on the Hecarim, I think in the grand scheme it was a 1-2. The game I'm referring to had Guri had like 228 farm versus Tomrio's like 130 or something. It was almost a flame horizon in the jungle. While simultaneously doing like 40% of his team's damage in one of these tournaments. Like, this is why I'm so hype on this person. And now he's playing Gragas, which is not like, it's not that same type of champion. Actually, Emperor came over here to be a bit of a nuisance, but that's about all.
Yeah, just poked his little head in. Wanted to have a peek at where the Scion was, what was going on. Gets full information of that jungle start.
A flash? No.
And I'm excited to see Guri in here because there is something else to consider, and that is SBTC should have a lot of knowledge about BJ because they have carried over Saigon Buffalo's coach from before times in Ren. So we had a lot of discussions of seeing how BJ's early pathings were great and how much and how to contribute that to great sort of setups with Ren, and because one of our complaints about Buffalo was if things went off script in the early game, they started to look lost. But when they went to script, it was perfect. It was beautiful. Guri is now in. Guri is brand new and has never been under Ren. And they might not be ready for this game coming up.
Okay. Yeah, the ward is going to be gone. Now Guri just has to wait for the E cooldown, and there's a double marksman lane. Any amount of CC could be devastating here. We'll see if Taki and Shogun can hit 3 as well. Oh, the bird just caught him, and here's DNK as well. Guri's just going to have to get out of a bad situation. It could have gone a lot worse, 100%. That arrow coming out at the last possible second. Now DNK is going to go hunt him, most likely with the wave pushed in to see if he could take away any sort of camps. But this bot side is all but gone. Just the blue buff that's being contested now by DNK. It's double marksman. Actually, everybody's stepping up here. Here's Taki. He jumped the wave just to make sure he could be here in time. Shogun's also going to be available. Froggy's the first one off the wave, too, as Renekton wants to join. Yeah, that's going to be a huge play. Guri's going to flash E in. He's going to be able to find a little bit of something. DNK wants to find it. A first blood over to Shogun. Guri is going to get brought down. He's either too many spears inside of him. Now Shogun's going to get brought down as well. Paulette just has too much to worry about. And now Slater actually flashes over the wall to find Taki, and Taki just goes over top of the other wall and completely clowns Slater. It's a 2-for-1 for SE.
I was hoping Paulette would try and push Taki back towards the tri-brush so Slater could stay and pick it up, but it doesn't really matter. It's 2 kills for the SPTC bot lane. It's just the one over to Saigon Buffalo, and you'll take that. Even though you lost that first blood, the Callista and Ashe are exactly where they want to be. Mid laners couldn't get involved either. So this blue buff, it's Guri making the call. Just go all in on DNK and try to remove him, but it ends up Shogun overcommitting for that follow flash, and these slows are just so much early on. You can't get away. You don't have dash cooldowns, and it's a simple double kill for Slater. This was fun, but trying to predict the flash, but Taki's just like, oh, okay, I'll go this way then. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry for asking.
I think there was just a bit of disconnect because I had seen Froggy trying to get off the wave and ended up not. So they might have called it off, I think, in the midst of everything because everybody was pulling back on SE. And I'm not sure if it was Guri saying, okay, I'm going anyway, or what the situation was. But Froggy had first move there. So if Froggy had come in on the back, think about a shock blast hitting Slater and Paulette. They likely would not have been able to step forward the way that they had so aggressively in order to make that play against Shogun, potentially force the flash from Taki. So and that's also a very common SGB thing, is just that, like, okay, even if Froggy sacrifices a whole wave, that's usually their shtick in a lot of circumstances. So it is a little strange that they called that off only to continue on the play anyway, because now it's led to a pretty massive advantage on bot side, as you had predicted prior. A little bit of bot-focused attention here from the side of SPTC.
Yeah, and we saw a potential move for the Dragon take from SGB, but they've decided to deny that, and DNK is still lurking. It's gonna be a little bit hard to pull it all off, but now we've just resulted in an early Dirk evolution that's not going to amount to too much because the pressure still should belong to double marksman because that's all they do. And that Ash arrow went out and spotted nothing, so now they just have to judge. I think they're predicting he's on top side, looking at Palette's positioning.
I would say that too, especially with the coverage. A level 5 for Guri, as well as having DNK here, could be really, really good stuff. Maybe even a wraparound from DNK. It's going to be an E, not going to hit anybody. The bubble's not going to hit anybody either, as it's a flash to get away, and Guri is just getting a run down here. That is a rough situation. Just a little more patience might have actually led to quite a few good things, because DNK was starting to come in, thought he could actually tag Palette, but doesn't get that body bump to be able to set up either Shogun or Taki. And now, with the wave stacked as much as it is, this is a rough situation for SGB. They're going to get shoved off by Dia1. And yeah, that is not a good start to this game. The Lucian Nami getting bullied down quite a bit. A lot of kills, a lot of extra gold getting thrust into Slater and Palette from this early pressure.
Yeah, and that's pretty much a direct continuation of that play around the blue buff. No flash for Guri, but Palette still had his, so the engage just petered out. Even though the bubble from Taki was pretty good, it didn't matter because Palette just flashes out of it. Felt confident with that summoner spell in hand.
Yeah, had the flash been saved, I think it would have, like right here, like the flash almost certainly gets something. Notably, the barrier did get popped by Palette, so there wasn't a lot of kind of a electrifying damage to be able to come through in the first place anyway. And they're down a level as well. Like Slater has a level advantage. There's so many things that went wrong in that circumstance for Saigon Buffalo. Although they are going to pick up first dragon as recompense for everything else that's gone on.
Yeah, the sort of nature of forcing someone back early and then resetting means they get to be out on the map faster and pick that up. But in the meantime, you've got pretty comfortable CS lead for Enpa in this top side, has had full control with no pressure from either jungler, and the mid lane is just even, so you're completely okay with that. And now, with the bot lane being pretty comfortably ahead, still lots of kills on the board for the bot side, you can just move up and put your attention elsewhere in time for this Rift Herald to spawn.
And
also, this is fun.
Does Saigon's composition scale hard enough? Like Jace is super strong later because you can just kind of dump damage, especially with double marksman with no true tank. Like eventually, like the Jace is going to have more than enough damage to be able to do something into this composition. But does that come quick enough for how far ahead right now SBTC is with the Callista? They should be controlling neutral objectives.
I will say it should be moderately difficult for Callista to really burn through this front line, but there is a Gwen there to help that out, so it should be okay. DNK's gonna head bot, and what I like to see from Palette is we've seen a lot of the supports in VCS just rush Mythic, but Palette is one of the few who is actually bothering to go the Dirk first and go towards the Umbral Glaive, which is nice to see, because with that extra vision choke between that and the Callista spirits, should be great for them to push in and keep the snowball rolling as it progresses. And here comes DNK once again, heading straight to the bot lane.
Yeah, I'm trying to find something right now. That is a big ultimate from Shogun because he knocks down half of Palette's health bar. So it's going to be harder for Slater to set up like an ultimate. Otherwise, Palette might just get executed on the way in. Pretty close, I have to assume, for one of these supports to actually hit level 6. When Taki hits it in a second, gets the wave, might feel confident enough to actually make some sort of play happen against the double marksman on bottom side. Guri also sticking around on the bottom side of the map, just trying to make sure that both have what they need. Is the solo lanes have been left alone for the most part. Hosmed's just scaling up against the Gwen. Gwen's picking up damage, but Hosmed's slowly becoming a massive tank. And Jace, again, the longer you have to scale, the easier it is for this Jace to start to pop off and do damage. What happened on bottom side that Palette nearly takes the entire health bar? Taki didn't throw the wave either. He only just hit level 6, so that was a possibility that's still held here by Saigon Buffalo.
Just walked into a bush at a bad time, and this is going to cause so much trouble as Slater has to back right off because Guri is joining the party. There's going to be some extra plates going over, and that pretty much nullifies that Rift Herald grab in the first place from DNK. But in the end, you've had these solo lanes just sort of scaling up. Dia1 has made attempts to shove the wave and roam. At the top lane, it's just Enpa scaling versus Froggy scaling, and I'm taking the Gwen in that. I'm pretty happy with a fed Gwen who's just had free CS, free laning, and now it's just little bit of back and forth. Small mistakes from Paulette, but now has that arrow and can actually start to make things happen very aggressively with that Enchanted Crystal Arrow, and maybe we start to see Paulette make the move, link up with DR1 and just chain that CC into kills.
2,000 gold advantage. This actually might be spiked even harder because now you've got 3 AD champions, 2 marksmen, and the Rift Herald here on bottom tower might just break the first tower of the game. Yeah, they're going to pop that Rift Herald. It's not enough. I think just now it ticked over to being just enough to be able to actually work with as Will. Oh, it didn't. It actually didn't. Yeah, I'm still not quite used to judging that, so.
Yeah, the new damage is not quite as much as it used to be. It used to be a guaranteed full 2 plates. Now it's 1 3/4 roughly.
Something like
but,
that.
you know, you still have that way. Control the culling has just been used, and you should be able to hold that.
Big ultimate coming through. Guri actually loses the ultimate as well. Oh! What a kick from Shogun! But he actually sneaks out the backside. Now Froggy on the other side trying to find something into DNK. DR1's going forward. Guri's going to be able to disrupt him. So many low members on the side of SBTCE. They're the ones that pull the first kill as Guri is going to go down. Everybody here on SBTCE is, though, it's so much health, though. I think they want to keep chasing. I think they want to try to find something. I don't know what they have in order to actually find it. Froggy Shock Blast gets flashed away from by Paulette, as that's going to be the end of that right then and there. It was such a close fight, remarkably, from the side of Saigon Buffalo, but nonetheless, a kill and full first tower here for SBTC Esports.
Yeah, they really just played that through a game of inches, cutting through that tower, and took a little bit of time for it to fall down, so a couple of shots went into them as well. But through it all, there was enough stacks to take down Guri, not particularly tanking on this jungle Gragas. And it starts off with an attempt onto Paulette, but that Fate's Call denies so much of the attempted engage, and then it's just a chase down that goes pretty well. I mean, they're able to just keep the stacks up into Guri, and that's all they needed. The rundown from Ashid and Callista is pretty powerful, but they couldn't progress any further than that because they did take a lot of health damage, as you said, and were in danger of that accelerated shot blast on the way out, which took Paulette's flash.
It would have been very, very close to also just a little bit of something. Look at the damage that's actually been done. And believe it or not, Saigon Buffalo has done more damage than the side of SBTCE, just because that last fight had to be so much that they threw between anybody. They had more than enough for like 2 full kills of champions, and it just wasn't in the right targets by any capacity. So very, very close to slipping in their way. They are down 4,000 gold now. It is a massive, massive Callista for Slater that's going to be here. Not to mention, again, the Rift Maker is completed already for Gwen, so Gwen is feeling great inside of a game like this.
Yeah, we're starting to see Saigon Buffalo
big
trying to
play.
deal that
Taki gets stunned up by Dia1. He's going to bubble. Is there going to find anything on a Slater? No, he gets body blocked by Dia1 now, and an arrow is going to tag up Shogun underneath of their own tower. Can't follow it up as Hospet's here as well to help assist. Again, it's just little stuff here and there trickling over to the side of SBTCE.
Yeah, just finding these small angles, finding SGB out of position. Their early game damage is huge, and their big potential, as said, is great. And now SGB, kind of was caught Husband in rotation trying to swap with Deer and try and manage this Gwen. And I guess Taki was just trying to help him, and everyone just bounced on the fish.
That's very true.
Good blocking from DR1 as well to save Slater.
Yeah, we haven't gotten what is a full-fledged fight, I think, right out of Saigon Buffalo, because there's been a couple of times. The closest we got was that bot lane play, and it was the closest they've come to actually winning outright, even though they were down a decent chunk of gold. It hadn't been spent yet by SB. It's really strange. What am I looking at? Can you...
What are we looking at?
Take a look at the items and tell me which one is out of place right now. What am I looking? Please, somebody. I understand the premise of playing against basically 3 melee champions, even Callista in relative short range. Really? The only person on this team that's got poke. I'm talking about the Gore Drinker.
Oh, okay.
On Froggy. On the Jace, the Gore Drinker.
Okay. No, sorry. I'm just kind of used to Gore Drinker Jace by now.
I am not accustomed to the.
Yeah.
Why in this game though? I get the premise of it, but why would you want that over poke in a game where there's no tank?
That is a fantastic question. I guess Froggy really wants It's Froggy mentality. Froggy know
Truly.
one thing, and that is
Okay,
go in.
big
and
kick,
so
Guri
does
into the rest of the
SGB.
team. Big flank coming in from the side of Emperor as well, who's going to find quite a bit of damage on the back end. Froggy in the middle of everybody actually does quite a bit of damage, getting quite a bit of healing, and so many members still low. Somebody clean this. Please, somebody clean this. They can't do it. Nobody's able to jump back in and actually find enough damage to kill off anybody in SBTCE. Again, Saigon Buffalo does so much damage, and it just does not matter, as they can't win on the other side of the fight. They're going to lose Rift Herald as well.
There you go. That's might have been it, but oh dear.
Okay,
Oh, he fails
Dia
the
1, really rough situation. Shogun's going to find something. Guri is able to tank up that. Slater fancies himself a fight right now. I actually am a little bit curious about that, as Paulette is going to take a fair amount of damage from Shogun. Now it's Slater v Shogun. Shogun's just going to walk out of the situation. Is he going to be able to get away? I don't know. Dash gets him away. Slater's going to try to flash, find one more spear. Is he going to be able to get the Ren? And so it is just a full of kills kind of traded back and forth between the two.
But in the end, the 2-for-2 is on the exit as Dia 1 fails to slice over the wall, and then the re-engage from Slater. And this, I mean, Froggy trying to justify his purchase, I suppose, but yeah, you feel like I do feel like that. Yeah, you have to question that decision, and it's just a grouping up and bit of a strange kick angle, trying to go for the knock through and not really missing, but it didn't really matter, as these Gore Drinker mid laners just jump into the middle and do not die because they heal so much. And then it's just a little bit more upfront CC on the side of SBTC to keep Heartsman in place and bring him down. Don't get to see the back end, but yeah.
Something I also want to note, like in previous splits, we have had an unrealistic amount of Shogun kind of carrying fights like that by being the kind of the forward-facing like spear or attack angle. Can we talk about like his champion pool this split has been terrible? He has not played Varus for a single game. I know it's been banned a lot, but has not played Varus, has not played a game of Zeri, hasn't played a game of Aphelios yet. Like, it's really weird that he's going away from some of the team fighting ADCs, is that's going to be an arrow in, and they're going to find Shogun with that one. They're just trying to scatter to the wind right now. Shogun is going to get run down. He's going to be traded 1-for-1, but Hosmed now getting run down as well. And another stun down onto an additional member, as it's just Froggy and Hosmed and Taki that are running away. Actually, Hosmed was in Zombie. My apologies, I read that wrong. With the Rift Herald going down, this is an SBTC win. Like, I don't even know how else to say it. They've got absolutely snowballed this game to hell. And Saigon Buffalo has had zero answers since minute 1.
They're gonna get the third charge on the Rift Herald as well. That's
insane.
That tower will heal up a little bit, but that doesn't matter. It's a 9k gold lead for the side of SBTC. They're gonna pick up their second dragon, and with this much damage, you're loving the Infernal Rift choice. You are going to thrive under these conditions. And yeah, I've been fairly underwhelmed with a lot of the Lucian armies in this league, and this was a full engage to just try and get something back onto DNK, but they step too far forward. The re-engage is super easy with the arrow and then the flank from DO1 on the side. DNK does go down for all of SGB's efforts, but it does not matter. Look at just how much the Ashe is putting in more damage than the Lucian and the Jace. It's just upset. I think SGB are just gonna try and slowly play this out and maybe think, okay, what are we planning for game 2, and then go in for a big wombo fight to just move to the next stage.
And I know when it comes to rookie junglers, we oftentimes we've judged them on a couple of things. Whenever I see rookie junglers, it's always like pathing and trying to understand that, and then it's also like how much are they carrying versus how much early action are they having. And while Guri, I think, had the right idea of heading to bottom side, the execution was never there. This is also not, again, the comfort for Guri. Like Guri is a farmer. He's somebody that wants to kind of put the team on his back in terms of DPS and stuff like that, which is also a BJ stick. I mean, we've seen him play the Nidalee before. We played some of those kind of active junglers, which is why it was weird. They brought in Guri, who can fulfill like that Graves role, which is what I prefer to call it, because I think it's the easiest for people to kind of understand. And then they put him on Gragas, and they're like, all right, yeah, gank bot lane perma. Like, it's still weird that they had him try to try that against DNK for the first game out, and they've kind of been throttled because of it, right, in a large number of ways, because now their magic damage is limited. Guri's really, really far behind. Bot lane was never really in a situation that they could contest in any significant way. Shogun's got enough gold to be at least competitive in this game, but not nearly enough to be a strong enough force that he can carry fights. And so now they're sitting here up creek without a paddle, staring down a Baron that Slater and DK are kind of taking on their own. Nice wave from Taki. He's going to push them out of the Baron pit for just a second as they clear out vision and try to establish some foothold here. That's Enper, who's getting run at by Hosmed. If they all turn for Enper, they are going to lose the Baron, so they do have to be a little bit cautious about that. Enper is going to get knocked out. Froggy is here as well. They're going to be able to find the 1 kill in exchange for that Baron buff, as that is a shutdown going over to Shogun.
Yeah, definitely feeling that's worthwhile, though, as the defense is going to come in.
Okay.
Still have lots of potential to turn it around, and with the Ash Arrow missing and a fairly low health Bullet, I don't think they're going to try and commit to this 4v5 at all.
No.
Just try and defend the tower, and okay, this could be where it turns around, because this is a questionable decision from SBTC. I think you just let this one go and send Dia into a side lane. Okay, Dia. Okay, Dia. Calm down.
He's playing around with his food a little bit because he knows that there isn't really much like threat kind of to have here. And honestly, this Baron buff, with both mid towers down, bot tower might kind of crack. It's possible that they'll go for a full blitz on the mid lane and attempt to make that play happen. But more importantly than anything, it'll certainly set up third dragon for the side of SBTC, and they are up enough gold that it's difficult to fight. Froggy now getting kind of run at by Enper, who I think TP'd up here in order to be around. Now DNK, he's got to find him. Ooh, it's a decent kick. Now he's going to get shocked up underneath the tower. It is a 1-for-1. It goes to Taki, but I mean, you take that all day. Much better than just kind of losing a single member. Hosmed on the other side of the map is just farming away. They're going to lose this bottom tower, but can they hold more than that? It looks like there's not going to be much more of a push from SBTC.
Yeah, just 1-for-1, and you remove one of the Baron buffs. It's working out okay. I do want to see SBTC try and work on the 4-1. Unfortunately, they sort of started by overloading the bot side, and now they can't execute the 4-1 towards the end of the buff when the dragon is starting to spawn, because if they want to maximize it, they can 4-1 through the top side, and DNK, he's just feeling himself. He knows he's got such an advantage, but he just forgot that the barrel. He just can't get out.
And it's perfectly fine. Again, you're willing to take that trade because it did buy you bottom tower. Hosmed was on top side, so there's no real defense to be made against the kind of bottom side siege that was going to be coming through. And now, I'm still super confused about this like Gordrigger. Can you talk me through why the Gordrigger build is used in the slightest on this, Jace?
Okay, so on the basics, the Eclipse change got rid of one of the only things Jace is really missing in this game, and that is sustain. Yeah, that means people had to look for other options, and they settled on Gordrinker. It allows you to be a lot more aggressive in your hammer form with the extra CDR and the ability to just heal off multiple members with that active. And yeah, so your poke does suffer, but it lets you be a little bit more versatile, lets you go in and be that big melee assassin once they do get down low enough. Plus, of course, extra CDR means you can throw out more and more poke missiles, even though they don't hurt as much. So yeah, you tend to see these Jaces go Conqueror rather than, say, the First Strike.
Hosmed did not look like a tank there for a second. He lost all of his health bar in basically no time at all. And that's actually get a full sprint back to the base with that ultimate, as it's not even a Baron buffed up team right now. It is just a normal looking team. No extra minion kind of damage coming in, as every outer tower has been taken. SBTC Esports can walk at Dragon anytime they want. That's the next objective. It looks like they're working towards. Mid lane's going to get shoved up by DNK. And I don't know that Saigon Buffalo actually has a contest for this. They're down 11,000 gold to 24 minutes. It's a defeating victory, or it's a defeating kind of loss for the side of Saigon Buffalo and SBTCE. Playing around Slater and Paulette, kind of taking massive advantage of this Ashe pick. I feel like the Ashe has been so impactful in this game from just the early moments when they had that one trade from Guri with the Flash E going down, getting first blood, and then immediately responding with 2 kills. It feels like that has been the snowball start that's led to the avalanche that's been SBTC kind of going off to this huge advantage they've got.
Yeah, it's a little bit that, a little bit of SGB taking fights they shouldn't have early. Like, they full committed to that 3v3 on the bot side, which started the snowball, and they have not the best early pressure in these teams. Like, you kind of want some items on this Lucian Nami before they really get rolling. They are a mid-game duo, not so much an early game. Gragas is very squishy in the jungle. He's not super strong as a duelist in the early game, so works in, has a lot of CC to set up ganks, but in a straight-up fight with the enemy jungler, not the best. So we end up with a case of 3 really strong early game champions versus maybe 2.5. Maybe 2 all up with Lucian and Gragas making up a half each, and yeah, it just ended up going completely out the window for SGB, and from there SBTC just kind of kept making good plays and shutting down everything Saigon Buffalo wanted to do.
Little bit of damage being thrown out, kind of fished at with Shogun's ultimate right there, but that's about all that you're going to get. They are holding decently, and again, the more gold that you're able to throw into Jace, more gold that you're able to throw into some of your carries, the possibility of being able to get through a fight isn't ridiculous. Getting gold into Scion, I think, is also a good idea, because again, you don't really have this massive tank killer. You do have Enper, who's this massive, obviously Enper's shredding through Hosmed like nothing right now, because there's no magic resist kind of focus from Hosmed. But you get 3rd item, 4th item territory, maybe Hosmed gets to a place where he doesn't just get absolutely ripped through by Enper and all this true damage that the Gwen is going to have. But this just feels like a game that's been stalled out for only the reason that there isn't a really, really powerful forcing move from SBTC Esports for them to close the game out on.
Yeah, there's pretty strong wave clear on SGB. There's a short range composition and good.
Very dead Froggy. And that might spell danger for no other reason. You've got wave crashing in top, wave crashing in bot lane, and mid lane is now coming in as well.
Dominus.
Okay. Do you have anything else? Yeah, you popped Dominus and just kind of stood there menacingly above the tower before anything else. He can just be in top lane right now. That's the forcing. Yeah, that's really interesting as well. Hosmed is just getting auto-attacked to death, and again, Enper's true damage is really coming in clutch to make him not look like a 10. Great wave from Taki, does disrupt quite a bit of the engage that was coming through from SBTC Esports, but it's just not going to matter as they walk out with mid-inhibitor. They can walk at Baron if they want to, they can walk, look for backs, something like that. That's Shogun trying to make something happen, has to flash away to make sure he doesn't get stunned up and just killed. Trying to find a pick onto Palette. It's such a desperation play from Saigon Buffalo to find nothing.
Yeah, it will stop them from just turning and straight away taking Baron. But here comes the charge.
They're trying to catch him before they get anything else. Can they find anything? That's a big flag from Guri. Okay, get a little bit of something. Enper is disrupted. No flash to get out. He's gonna have to pop some abilities just to try to get out over the wall. But yeah, okay.
You'll just kill them.
Can we FF? What are you supposed to? This is such a disastrous game. There's so much gold on SPTC. There's no way they're just shredding through this quickly. That's a nice kick on a Shogun who's going to get out of that situation. DNK not quite able to close that out, but now D1 in the back is going to be looking for something. That's Enper getting one. That's going to be Slater getting a second one onto Froggy as soon as he comes out of stasis, and that is that. DNK goes down in exchange for 3. And honestly, run it Baron. The best case scenario, you're going to be able to grab it and you're going to be able to win the game. Worst case scenario, you probably grab it and then you back and look for something else.
All right. Oh, okay. No, they didn't have a jungler. They do have Callista, but I've seen Soraka Q's take it. I believed in the bubble, but Taki does not believe in the bubble. So easy drip Baron for the side of SBTC, and just gonna have to wait for the closeout. They've got a minute until Infernal Soul, and they can grab that if they want. They have an open mid lane to just run down, and this is just an attempt to try and salvage while the stakes are low, but they can't really get anything done. The Emperor is just able to sit in this state and just kill Green, essentially a 1v4. And then Slaters can drain tank. Hosmed is not particularly tanky when there are double black cleavers to make his armor feel a little bit useless. And then, yeah, Enper got out on a bit of health. He gets to come back in. Dio went for the biggest flank of the century as well. And yeah, there's just a wallet. That's just a wallet between SGB and Victory at this point.
Like I said, for SBTC to have this commanding a win is kind of... It's really good. It's off the back of Slater. It's been a minute since we've really, I think, put Slater at the top of the table for being ADC. I know last split SBTC made decent kind of strides towards being one of our more competitive teams, and it is really nice to see them step up. It's also deflating to see that Shogun split has not been, I think, anywhere near what we've seen the last couple. It's been a I think it was like it was 2021 winter that Shogun made the debut, and we were so hyped on Shogun then took over the main starting role, and then since then has been nothing but electricity. And so this is the first time that I'm ever having like okay, Shogun's not having the greatest of splits. This game hasn't been good. He hasn't hard carried fights the way that you would always want him to. And so all of Saigon just getting kind of run through as their bot lane has fallen to pieces. That's Froggy immediately dead. DNK doesn't fall at all. They get the bottom lane inhibitor. They've got the Baron buff. They've got Infernal Soul. This game is over right here, right now. It's just a question of who gets to clean up everybody. As Emperor is just ripping through people with this Gwen. No response to be had now. Oh my God. Yeah. All right. Yeah. That is everybody is paper on the side of Saigon Buffalo. Do not know how they could not figure out how to throw a single rock at this Scissor Lady, but it is going to be the first game going to SBTCE.
Yeah. That was pretty disgusting damage at the end there. One charge of that ultimate from Gwen just cutting 2 people to half health. It was yeah. Yeah, okay, so SGB need to sort of go back to the drawing board. Either pick for a more, actually stable jungler in the early game or something they know what to do. Guri was an experiment. Maybe it's time to just bring BJ back. You are down. Maybe you have more faith in Guri than I. This is my first actual view of him, and it might just be the Gragas, which is currently 0-7 in the league, but yeah, that was a lot of damage, and that's a little bit inflated because he just got a whale on a tank all day. Even so, Emperor and honestly the entirety of SBTC just kind of ran over what Buffalo put out this game, and they just have to try again. The answer to the Gragas is just locking a Renekton early.
And I'm in a really weird place because it feels like Saigon Buffalo are able to pick utility in top lane, but the carry picks have not been there for Hosmet. So you're expecting that Emperor will probably be in a winning matchup most of the time. Mid lane went okay for Froggy. I don't think at any point was Froggy really behind in this game, but again, the Gordringer Jace, I don't know, was doing what they wanted it to do by being somebody that could jump into a fight, because then you're just jumping into Palette and you're jumping into Callista. So it was a really strange decision there. Also, again, where is the bloodthirst? There were 2 big fights that I was like, wow, it would be really cool if Shogun could just jump or flash in and just go killing people and try to get 1 or 2 or just 4. It's a situation where I'm like, if he's playing Samira, he kills 4 people here. If he gets a reset and just keeps dashing, he just wins this fight, on his own. That confidence isn't there from Shogun. He's playing so much more pensively, and I don't like that. I would like to see them play more confidently. And if you're going to keep Guri, play farming. Don't keep him on this. Don't play DNK's game with Guri. That's what my diagnosis is. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I'm feeling this Lucian is definitely just not the answer for Shogun. He's not looked fantastic on it. He's definitely much more of that sort of, I'm going to sit right back and play the hyper carry. He's most played are Aphelios and Jinx by a country mile. Granted, that was a little bit of when he started in the meta.
That's true.
But I feel the Zeri would suit that better. You can go onto the Sivir maybe if you're stretched, but just they ignored Zeri entirely. They could have gone for Zeri, Lulu. They went for Lucian Army. Yeah. I think you just need to play for your strengths, and that was not what SGB did.
All right. Well, we'll see whether or not SBTC can kind of keep it up and continue crushing against Saigon Buffalo in game number 2, or if Saigon's going to take us to their 3rd best of 3 that goes 3 full games in a row this split, as our final game of week number 2 continues right after this break. back, everybody, to our final series of the week here in the VCS week number 2, as we're walking into game number 2 of Saigon Buffalo versus SBTC Esports, who absolutely crushed the Buffaloes in their first game. Myself, Rebel Fox, alongside Mobby once again. We had some riveting discussion about bot laners that we definitely 100% want to see come out this game for Saigon Buffalo, because they're, just as a point of focus, he's played, Shogun's played Lucian, Sivir, Ashe, and I can't remember the third, Jhin. That's what he played. Where are our hyper carries? Like, how are we not hyper carrying on this guy?
I mean, the Sivir is the closest we've had, and that was a loss.
I love Shogun Sivir, but like, where are the rest?
That's a really good question. Like Aphelios is good. The buff is next patch, sure, but it's not that big of a buff realistically. It's absolutely playable, and yeah, the
Guri's
Sivir
still in.
Yeah, the Sivir was completely fine. The Varus could be good. I'm interested to see where it lands, but they are just giving Paulette exactly what he wants.
That is so gross.
And the best jungler of the VCS as well in the.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
That is support.
Well,
I
okay,
hope
so
it's Jhin.
I don't know. We know that Shogun has played the Jhin earlier this split, so it is definitely possible. And the Talia I actually really liked on Froggy, because I think he's played it once in the split and actually looked really good on it in the first game that they played. Yeah, I'm excited for this. I think that's a good combination. Now, I'm not loving the fact that they gave back the Callista and the Ashe on the bottom side. Slater and Black killed with that combo, but you did have some bits of counterplay now with the double marksman of your own.
Yeah, so personally, I'm not loving the Callista pick specifically against this, mostly because the range advantage is going to be absolutely mental. But of course, DNK could just walk down and force some kills, and then you're all back to where you were in that first game. I'm still confused. I don't know which way this is going to be. If this is a Jhin as the main stay AD carry, you can try and put in some more tanks in your composition from SBTC and shut that down, because a Jhin and Talia as your main damage dealers, it would require Husman to pull out something big like the Gwen to try and cover for that.
You could. On the opposite side, if you were contemplating things that you could give a farming jungler like Guri, you know a champion is super good against Wukong at basically every phase of the game, unless Wukong hits 6 first, is Kindred as a potential grab, which it would be very unfortunate if Carex missed a rookie playing Kindred in their second game ever against DNK's Wukong. That would be something that we'd miss. We'd have to re-record the game with some Carex commentary over top of that. But I think it would be an awesome pick, and I think it would fit into the wheelhouse of what Guri likes to do a lot better than what we saw in game number 1 with the Gragas. So that's my personal take on the opinion. They seem to think otherwise as they get rid of the Poppy. The Jack's also taken off the board. The Fiora also gone again for end person, not getting that one. This draft, I think, is going a lot better for Saigon Buffalo. That's my opinion. We'll see what the crux is, though, because DL1 is yet to pick a champion, and you know what kind of a mixed bag that can be. Yeah,
tank for Enpo. Get him the Cassante. It's the most Enpo themed tank I can imagine, for sure. And yeah, with this, I feel like there is the possibility for that Talia to make its way into the jungle. It fits Guri's sort of pattern, as you said, being that sort of farm heavy canyon style jungler, but they're figuring out their last pick, and that looks like it's going to be the case. Triple marksman, boys!
Triple marksman.
Someone better build a bloody frozen heart.
Okay, this is of interest because now I also think about the turret breaking potential bottom side of the map. This is the interesting kind of adaptation that I know gets made as well, because I've seen Gragas into Tristana mid lane a couple of times. You're so safe, you're so kind of high wave clear. It's hard to pick you down because your health is constantly being ticked up. So DL1, I think also DL1's the one that was playing Gragas mid like 2 seasons ago when this champion was not played there at all, because he saw the strength of what it was able to do, and it did some pretty kind of good things. I think he's won on it before as well. So now that it is kind of standard meta, you'd think he probably has quite a bit of practice on it, even up against Froggy's Tristana. So, and Guri does get that farming jungler that is a lot more in the wheelhouse. You're playing more for this and has a bit more action because you can play a little bit further back. Gragas is a lot more in your face than typically what this champion pool looks like for this player.
Yeah, I mean, I saw when Faker was the first one this year to bring out the Gragas. I was just like, that's the D1. That's the D1 champion. And yeah, I'm absolutely stoked to see him back on this, giving him more of that carry potential. He didn't play as much of a big role in it in that first game, mostly being facilitator and a nuisance on that Renekton. But this time he can absolutely exploit some of these squishy players, and just there might be some issues dealing with what Harsman is doing in the top side, being that big beefy tank boy and not really having that great tank shredder on your team. But if Cassante work on and Gragas can wreck the backline before then, it's fine.
Well, I think it's time, Mobby. We're going to get onto the Rift for our second game here. SBTC trying to get themselves up higher in the standings, trying to stay competitive for those playoff spots, because right now top 5 is really contended among the 4 teams that are sitting behind. And again, Saigon Buffalo is just trying to get on the board right now. They have not yet made the jump to even a win in a series. Currently backs up against the wall against the side of SBTC Esports. See if they're able to get themselves out with this awesome triple marksman draft, or if they'll continue their losing ways, the typical kind of slumber that's held by the Saigon Buffaloes at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, holding this for a while and early poking in from Froggy. Okay, we have settled on the Jin is the support. This will be good. Cool. I'm happy to see that. Mm-hmm. And the Dark Harvest as well.
Dark Harvest. Taki, you are a menace to society. You know, did he hit him? You gotta be kidding. Did he get a dark? He had to get a Dark Harvest stack too, right? Like, no, Slater's probably not low enough. That sucks, but it is hilarious that Taki was able to actually snag that little W.
It ruins the back a little bit. It won't matter in the end with how minions are spawning, but just a nuisance, a menace, just an absolute monster to society. Now we're gonna see how Dark Harvest pairs up against the double hail of blades. This has been the big staple of winning the bot lane level 1 trades. Slater will be a little bit delayed to that lane, of course, but now we're just going to see some trading across the board. Dia going to take a big chunk of health, but he is Gragas. He will be fine to build that up in time.
Yeah. Lethal tempo actually stacked up by Froggy, so were not for the aggro kind of being pulled for a second, would have expected Froggy to go for even more aggressive trading against Dia1, but not going to happen. Nothing too crazy right here. Bottom lane, you're seeing Slater already had to heal to get away from that rough situation. You see the double marksman on bottom side. You see everybody else was doing Goon Champions in this split, but you know who's doing it last split and the split before? It was Taki. This is Taki's wheelhouse, man. Okay. Flash auto attack, not quite enough damage. I don't think the Ignite's going to get it. They don't even get Paulette or Slater. Oh, my apologies. They already had the heal. So it was just Slater's flash. The W. Remarkably close. But now double marksman just gets to bear down on this tower. And here's Guri, who's up a level on DNK, is going to be here readily available for the counter gank against DNK, looking for something. Does clear a bit of the wave, but can't quite get there. And DNK going to be stuck in place. Is he going to stay here? Is he going to try to make some rocks rain down on these two? I don't think he's going to be able to find much.
But this could potentially backfire if he chases too far.
Great. Actually, great shove. Okay, forces the flash out of Paulette as well. So Guri's level advantage coming up here. And here's Froggy. Okay, can we get Reset City for Froggy? Because the rocket jump is just not there. No way he's going to jump onto Slater. He's not going to be able to get the W coming out of the Jin. They get first blood! No way, Saigon! What are we doing behind the tower, gentlemen? This is an insane way to start the game.
It's a simple math equation. 1 marksman fails to beat 2. Why not bring 3? Just keep them coming. One after the other. Guri might find himself caught out a little bit by Dia. Flash body slam? No.
Nice. Okay. It's at the beginning of the game. Slater's at 4 CS at level 1 right now compared to anybody else. Even with the roam here from Froggy up about 6 CS too. This was really cool. I loved this. The Halo Blades coming out just to make sure extra damage, and a big pickup of that first blood coming through here from Saigon Buffalo. Bit more confident, much better in the early game on the bottom side. Last game, they were the ones that were kind of being bullied a bit on the bottom side. And in this game, getting that first blood going to be very helpful for themselves.
Yeah, and sort of seeing the issues I was kind of worried about with the Callista coming through, and they just do not match the range of this bottom lane duo. They just walk up, they just hit you from so much further away, especially now Shogun is going to start picking up these lethality items and just rain arrows from far away.
Mm-hmm.
They currently have the push right now, but it's just gonna be a little bit of an issue. DNK not quite as able to be as aggressive early on this Wukong compared to the Lee Sin. And yeah, just great collapse from SGB. This time Frog.
I'm sorry. Not sure. I'm gonna keep going here for just a second. I'm not sure if Mobby cut out or what exactly had happened. Mobby, are you back?
Nope. Yeah, I mean everything froze on my end, so
okay.
I just kept talking and
no problem.
Prayed for the best.
That's all right. And we got in. Solid poking coming out here. I'm liking what I'm seeing so far. It's been really big clearing from Guri as well. And again, to me, this was what they were missing. I don't like seeing Gragas get played out of the jungle. First off, it's terrible in the VCS. I think it's at 6 losses and 0 wins so far. So the only place it's found success is
7
mid-lane.
with that last game, yeah.
7 with the last game, yeah. So it's not looking good. Dia1's got an angle on Froggy because he just hit level 6. Buster shot's available now, so you have to be really careful. What a gorgeous use of the Buster shot right there. Froggy anticipating the attempted engage from Dia1 to try to cancel the ult animation, and instead himself gets it canceled. Still has to be a bit cautious just because that barrel can be there. Nice W from Froggy. Actually dodges the damage altogether. That was a gorgeous little sequence from Froggy. Is now Guri hunting down TMK, putting in some damage against the Wukong. This is a much more confident looking Saigon Buffalo than what we got in game number 1, and I love the way to see it. They see Guri coming. I don't know what they can do about it. Paulette probably just going to kite underneath the tower, is going to get shoved into the rocks, and will go down. DMK's here for support. What are you here for? Moral support, bud? Like, I don't know. Okay, they do get a trade kill. So they flew behind 1 as Taki does fall down, but that's the 3rd plate now. DNK alongside Dia1 and a walk through here. Guri should be able to keep them away. There's no ultimate from Dia1, so I'm not sure what the intention was here also. Just to hold the wave, I suppose, more than anything else, prevent that 3rd plate from going down, but still massively winning play for Saigon Buffalo.
Yeah, we're just sort of seeing DNK is trying to bail out his bot side, but Guri's just lurking there, making sure he can't approach. And the only success SBTC is having is in this top side, but that's just tank v tank. They're just wailing on each other. It doesn't actually matter. And I mean, Emperor can make something happen with the all out if someone squishy approaches him, but Hussman's just not going to fall victim to that. It doesn't seem likely. So we're just going to keep seeing this bot lane advantage grow. It's 2k, almost 3k in the lead already, and it's a complete swap of that first game. Here now, but not going to go for the dragon. Just don't feel comfortable making that risk.
Notably, also, this is the first game of the split. We've seen the Varus, I think, get through for Shogun, and this is the first time that he's playing it, and it's already looking great, especially when you compare it alongside anything that Taki's got. You throw it alongside the Jhin here, and this bottom lane is looking fearsome as ever. So you can appreciate that. A much harder game for the Callista here, as you can see. Paulette also having a much harder game. Paulette in the last game was so riveting. I think both of us gave him quite a few points in terms of like voting, because we liked the way Paulette played the Ashe, but in this game is kind of just getting bullied. Great Chains of Corruption, is that's just an instant execute from this bottom side. How do you play against that? Like without cleanse, you're just like flashing early to prevent the root, and like that is hard to read if you're Slater. So goodness gracious, this bottom lane is so beastly for Saigon Buffalo, as SBTCE hasn't been able to find an answer yet.
Yeah, and the Jhin pick was just so important as the takeaway. Gia's gonna be fine. He's able to interrupt the jump. But yeah, you got beaten to the punch. Caitlyn had been banned.
Oh my goodness.
Land a barrel.
Yeah, Froggy able to. What a buster shot, too. What an insane set of moves from Froggy. Froggy is playing this champion to perfection. Now actually is here with Guri, trying to make some aggression happen. E used to try to deny access from Wukong. Dia tries to flash in, isn't able to actually get it. He's going to trade one, but Froggy should have more than enough damage to clean up DNK, and instead it is Jhin. Taki grabs that one. But what a sequence. Again, Froggy is dancing on Dia1 in this game.
Yeah, this man is all... This man has loved his ADCs. He loves his jumpy boys. He's brought out the Callista, and now this time he's showing up on the Tristana, which, let's be honest, that's meant to be a Dia1 trick. That's meant to be what Dia1 was known for. But no, Froggy is putting him to task. 20 CS at lead.
Look at that.
Plenty of kills in the lead, and DR1 is just absolutely flopping these cards.
There's two.
I just can't get anything done. He doesn't even need to flash. It gets a little bit dicier because with this re-engage from Gory, they just decide we are going all in, and in the end, Guru will die, but it doesn't matter because there's Jin who can impact so much more. And Paulette tried to ult his own team member. It's about predicting a rocket jump or something maybe, but why would he rocket jump when he's that low? I don't know.
Also, it looks like top lane, somehow Taki was able to get up here and actually make a play happen up against Enper, so Enper has fallen as well on this map, which has risen the gold lead now to 4,500 here for Saigon Buffalo, looking a lot more active. This has been such a weird continuing trend for Saigon Buffalo, is that every one of their series, they have a game where they're just looking dominant beyond comparison, and then they lose the other two, sometimes in close fashion, sometimes in defeating fashion, and I don't know what's going on. It's that inconsistency. This is Shogun getting run at. Yumu's was enough. They missed! Paulette missed the initial kind of volley. That's an ultimate and a great flash from Shogun. Gets him out of way of danger. Dia1 actually disengaging him more than anything else. Could have been a lot more riveting a play right there. As Froggy getting jumped on by DNK, has to use the W to get away. Taki is here just for some additional support as they're going to try to grab up their second place. So many plays have just been auto-attacked to death as Rift Herald gets dropped as well. Guri just going to pour that one into Froggy as well, who's already this insanely powerful Tristana. Dia1 not much easy access to denying this, to ensure that Froggy doesn't get additional plates.
Yeah, just gonna crash those down. The tower does survive, which is at least somewhat important for DR1. And gonna see here, Enper has just been putting the hurt onto Houseman for the majority of it, but Guri shows up, and there's only so much Enper can do, especially when it's a basically 3v1. And Taki is pretty fed at this point, and you have no resistances because of your ultimate. So goodbye, Enper. He did his best.
Yeah, now set up, I feel like all three marksmen are insanely powerful in this game for Saigon Buffalo, which is like the last thing you ever want to hear in a game, is that you have to play against three fed marksmen, especially when two of them are lethality. So it's like early game, if you're squishy, you're not doing anything. Like you're just going to get bullied all day by those two. Not to mention, again, Froggy, when he gets fully leveled up and starts really kind of putting on pressure, is going to become this beast at taking towers and at front to backing against Enper, against DNK, against anybody who kind of stands in front of him. So for SBTC, I am a little curious what your thoughts are on their comeback potential. What is their win condition in a game like this? Is DNK trying to force something on a Shogun? He's going to find one.
This is a good start, but I mean, you have to look at them and say there are 4 squishy targets, an AP Gragas, and a Wukong. Anything can go wrong. Like, if the correct thing lands, something can pop instantly. So they're not quite out of it yet. I'm a little bit confused on where Deer is going with his build. No signs of a Rod of Ages, early rush on these boots, and a tier. So, not going to be quite as tanky as some. And
give me the Ludens.
Where is Mythic's going to come from?
Give me the Ludens.
Give me the Ludens. Give me the Everfrost is probably the most likely, but
so
I'm just
the reason I say
a little bit more beef.
The reason I say Ludens is because they've got 3 squishy members to deal with. Is that's not the first time we've actually seen this combination from Guri and from Taki, where they pop ultimates together just to go hunting somebody down with relative ease, and I can really appreciate that. Again, this game, Guri looks a lot more comfortable. I realized in the last game there was a lot that went wrong on the bottom side of the map, but when he is this initiator, again, that's not the role he plays. In this one, it's other people making calls. It's letting your veterancy kind of take control, and then Guri making the response plays afterwards helps your rookie so much. Froggy is so damn good at this champion. Where has this been in his wheelhouse for such a long time? What has this been?
Yeah, absolutely insane on the buster shots.
There we go. They finally find one. Okay, get stunned up. Froggy is going to fall right there. Chains of Corruption is actually gorgeous, and that's... Whoo! All right. Dia's trolling a little bit inside this game, but that is not to take away that Saigon Buffalo has been playing much better as a collective in this compared to what we saw in a number of different weeks. It feels like every time a play is going down, there are 2+ members of Saigon Buffalo there ready to make things happen. Paulette, is he going to get run down? He stepped back forward, which is insane to me to think. He just wanted to clear the wave. Now might get punished, and the arrow's going to kill him. Yeah, that's... Okay, yeah, that's gonna happen. Shogun's a laser beam with some of these arrows. Yeah, it was a lot of damage, but
Yeah.
That's what you can get for playing a marksman.
That's what you get for playing a marksman, indeed. And this starts off okay. This is the second attempt onto Froggy, and this works out fairly well. And they just try and chase the catch. I think you just sacrifice the DNK and then say, look, we got a 1-for-1, and that is absolutely worth it. But then Dia tries to help his jungler around, then ends up dashing into a tower, and Emperor's gonna be fine. He is still pretty tanky at this point. Having built a bit of armor should be a little bit hard for Froggy to just take down. Okay.
Yeah, the Kraken Slayer being done does bode a little bit better for Froggy's favor, but I don't think he really wanted it. They were just looking for a play onto Emperor more than anything else. This is the first time we've really seen tower access for anybody, as DL1's pushing on the bottom side with a decent-sized wave, and DNK is going to join him down here just so that they could try to pull some objective bounty. That's an ultimate from Emperor. That's Froggy, who got a little bit kind of feisty right there. He's going to kill Emperor! No, he's not!
No, he's not!
He is.
Yes,
oh, my God! The emotional roller coaster I just went on in that one-on-one was so wild. To think, like, Vamp Scepter probably played a factor there, ultimates, all this little shielding that came through. Every little tick of damage made a difference between the two of them right there. And you gotta love that it came down to one auto attack. Froggy killing off Emperor, getting the full tower, and trading for that bottom side play that had just been kind of made on SPTC's side. Insane how much different this Saigon Buffalo looks right now.
Yeah, I gotta give credit for Emperor making it that damn close, but in the end, Froggy just coming out on top. But
I gotta see this one more time.
See it again.
What is it? What is he doing? Like directly in range of the queue right there.
He's goofing around. He's feeling strong and
silly goofy guy. Here it is.
And, like,
how did
he dashes in and just forgets this man has a million shields and. Takes him down in the end, but it was enough to perfectly sink the casters, I suppose.
Cold and calculated right there, right to the last minute was Froggy. He knew that he didn't need one more auto attack. All he needed was the last one. Just barely got him out of dodge on that. And yeah, honestly, I would have clowned him if he died, but it would have been cool because Guri was there for the response. Probably would have picked up the turret on Kalia and would have been a perfectly fine situation one way or another. So all things considered, again, this Saigon Buffalo to me is playing a lot more communicatively than what we saw in the previous game. Look at the gold rankings right now. Even their support is ahead of everybody on the side of SBTCE. The only one lacking is Hosmed, and Hosmed's still doing fine.
Yeah, who are you calling a support, my friend? That is Hosmed. Far and wide, that is not... Taki is not a support. How dare you say that to him? He has 3 kills.
He's an assassin. And okay, Emperor versus Taki, 1v1. Let's see it. What do you get here? No. Okay, Emperor is just kind of stuck in the pit now. Will he flash over the wall? He actually doesn't have flash, so he's really just stuck in this pit right now. There's not much for him to do. A big barrel gets multiple people as DL1 finds a flank, but they're not able to capitalize on it in any way significantly. Here's Hosmed inside the dragon pit, actually picks up a kill against one. That's Jin in the back who's going to be throwing extra damage out on all the remaining members. Can't tag anybody yet. Emperor's still just fighting Hosmed in the pit. Has to flash over the wall. And now Shogun is able to pick up Wukong on the back end. Emperor's still here, but nobody wants to fight him before this ultimate kind of wears off, so now Emperor's just going to be able to walk out the back of the fight. And how are they still chasing on the other side of this? They're still trying to fight, still finding kills. Shogun finds 2 more on the back end. Emperor was the focus for a short time, but it just doesn't matter as the rest of the team falls around him.
Emperor is definitely played by Matt Damon in the movie adaptation. That could just kind of say he gets out A-OK, but it costs him an entire squad of SPTC. Dragon is up in a minute, and SGB are just like, okay, let's go for round 2 of that nonsense. Of Umbral Glaive only now being completed for Palette when Taki has had it for like 3 weeks. It's not looking fun.
Yeah,
it's 10k gold.
Okay, yeah, this is the funny thing is, like, look at this. That barrel's solid from DL1, but it did no damage. I didn't even realize that on the first pass as DL1 just gets absolutely run down. Then this Taki ultimate, I think, was really good, although DNK blocked a fair amount of it with just the clone. Like, I think 2 shots got blocked the whole time. Now we get to see the rest of the fight, as this is just Shogun, I think, running down the remaining members of the team at a solid angle here. I'm surprised Shogun didn't run up instead of down. Oh, Guri blocked with the wall, too. Got to give props to Guri, because there's no way for Slater to get out of that unless he runs directly up, and then he runs directly into Guri as well. So, again, to me, Guri's looking a lot better in the second game, and I'm really liking the double marksman on bottom lane. They're a lot more powerful, shut things out. Saigon Buffalo just has to waltz this one in for an ending now, I think, at this point.
Yeah, I'm also gonna say absolutely great placement of that Unraveled Earth for the side of Guri, able to just deny the follow-up engage from DNK, couldn't instantly respond to the barrel from Dio, which was good, because if he tried, he would have just gotten stunned, and there we go, goodbye Taki.
Yes, but goodbye DNK on the opposite side. And with double marksman, actually, yeah, well, at this point, double marksman alongside of Talia, if you wanted to, you could potentially make the play for the Baron. Emperor's in the side lane up against Froggy. Will he tag the ultimate? No, he will not. The Rift Herald was dropped. It looks like Shirley got a little bit of damage done on that
round
turret.
2.
Yeah, in round two. All right, tower's done. Now Froggy. He has the Buster Shot this time. That was a sexy Buster Shot from Froggy as he just gets to keep running forward. He doesn't want to go too far because he's worried about Ash Arrow or somebody else kind of popping up. But Froggy on the very winning end of this one-on-one up against Emperor, as Emperor slowly losing a little bit more over time. This is what happened here. They see him on that one ward, and the Ash Arrow is able to get, and they flashed, and DNK ulted. All of that for just a single kill. DNK, was it worth it, my Moya? I'm not sure.
I mean, it almost could be, because Taki's a pretty strong threat. You're looking for any gold onto your carries and onto anyone from the side of SBTC, and 1-for-1 in the end is not that bad a trade at the end of the day, but you just coming across and looking at the item disparity, 2 items completed for the side of Froggy compared to 1.
Taki's slacking now.
Taki be slipping. Ahmed is caught up and overtaken Enpa. It's I don't know. It
is a wild game.
He has 2 whole deaths. Just
he's garbage.
Garbage, yeah.
Absolute trash, yeah. Nothing much to say about Taki's performance, but a little bit terrible in this one. But again, I'm just waiting for them to close this out because they're in such a commanding lead. They're over 10,000 gold advantage, 11,000, I think, at 21 minutes in the game. Next Soul's going to be, or Soul Point's going to be up here in 2.5 minutes here. That is an arrow and a half coming out. Once again, XX Sniper X Shogun finding yet Paydirt a third time now inside of this game. Baron buff should be all too easy to take, right? Like triple marksman plus like Talia should shred this, and they are. They are absolutely shredding it. It's basically gone. Emperor has no way to access this. Palette has no way to access this. Palette almost just dies to Taki outright anyway with just the ultimate shots and nothing else preventing any CC. What a gorgeous Scion ultimate. He's gonna find Palette. Oh, pulled away. Fate's Call is gonna save his life.
Fate's Call's gonna save his life, but Palette cannot go back into the mid lane, and now it's Baron. You've got Harsmed. He can just tank forever if he really wants to. Froggy, he's probably dead here, but, you know, so good things back. Unfortunately, the kill did go over to DNK, and maybe it would have been better served on Enpa, but in the end, it's a little bit of time wasted, but it's fine for SGB. They have such a commanding lead, they can afford a few slip-ups such as this. Not gonna land the Chains of Corruption, but just gonna get that mid lane tower and reset, move up, take the top side.
Notably, an unpowered arrow also did about 500 damage right there. This was Froggy versus Dia1. Did Froggy just outright kill Dia1? Is that what happened here? Oh, Guri came up as well. Guri's just been everywhere, man. Okay, yeah, this was that play.
Guri comes up, forces flash and arrow from downtown. Dia decided to walk outside his base at all, and he was punished for it. Now SBTC, I think that's just trying to say, all right, we can't do anything topside, so we're going to do our best to maybe sneak a dragon at some point and get some vision control so we have an opportunity to take away that Ocean Soul. But it doesn't seem like that's really going to be the case. It's going to take an absolutely impressive amount of play. Now we're seeing things like the Banshee's Veil picked up, so these casks out of nowhere are going to be a lot less effective. Again, the range advantage is just absurd from the side of SGB. I think SGB, they're not actually going to maximize this Baron in terms of grabbing towers, but they are definitely going to use it to secure a soul. Guri has to flash, but the Banshees will pretty much keep him safe.
Not the most ridiculous thing in the entire world. Again, the Talia flash isn't great for offensive maneuvers. It's mostly just used for life-saving, and that was a situation in which Guri wants to stay on the map for the dragon. Yeah, mid-push, they got top push. Top tower has broken down. You do want Froggy here, but teleport is available. They've got control of this river. There's the TP into the bottom lane. They actually have a flank angle on DNK, but they don't know it yet. Now they're going to know it. Now DNK has to Dale over the wall. They do have an ability. Okay, that is a flash ultimate, and that is a dead DNK. That is certainly going to be soul point here from the rest of the team, unless something really crazy happens. DL1's trying to slip out the backside, but they are not going to be able to do that either, as that should be the game-defining play here for Saigon Buffalo, as that wins them a fight, gets them set up for massive pushing power. Ocean Soul's available. How do you kill anybody now? It is going to be way too hard. Now they can just barrel up mid lane with some Baron buff minions, look for something. Bottom lane's going to get shoved at the same time. And this should be the beginning of the end now for SBTC Esports.
It was already not impossible to kill Hasmed with your team composition, but now he can just walk at Slater, and there is very little that this Kalista can do. And he's just fighting three of them. He's just playing with three of them, and Paulette
might
is
die
really
in the
lucky to
Shadow
play
Realm.
for. He's really lucky as a Kalista, but. Yeah, Hasmed takes negative damage, and he's going to heal that all back up.
Ash Arrow misses.
It's done.
Still getting something. Guri has an amazing wall to split this fight completely in two to make sure that there's going to be one pick down as now there's no tank. Froggy goes in, tries to find something, Buster shots DNK away so that there was no Cyclone to actually tag onto him. Now he's stuck in the middle of enemy lines. Will he find one? He will not, as DNK will actually clean him up. That was a bit aggressive coming out from the mid laner here on Saigon Buffalo, but again, ultimately doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, that I'll give it to this. SBTC have an angle. It just requires Froggy doing that about 500 more times.
Yes.
And he will do it. He is that kind of guy. He's crazy. Don't think he won't.
Froggy is him for sure.
Everything just missed, and the wall cut off Cassante, so can't get out from there. And they just Froggy just wants to play around with DNK with that Buster shot for no reason, and
something
bit of a waste. They don't have Baron. Go on.
Yeah. Something that's a little bit downplayed, I think, is that over the years we've had a bunch of junglers come in and impress as rookies. Most of the time it's on Lee Sin. Am I wrong to say that? That like most of the time our litmus test is like, okay, can you play Lee Sin? And then you'll get some really, really attractive game. And you're like, okay, maybe they're not bad. And then the rest of the split, usually they peter out, and then we get new rookies, and then they kind of get shuffled in, and the same thing happens over and over again. Can you remember a time where a rookie had a game this impressive on somebody not named Lee Sin? Like, I don't recall one off the top of my head, at least.
Yes.
Did Ikigai had like a really good Hecarim game, but Hecarim was busted at the time.
We're going back a couple of years. It would have been DK on. It would have been DK on Nidalee.
Okay, DK
who
on.
would later become Penguin.
Yeah, Penguin
that was
is
at least a couple of years ago. He has
fair.
Since been a lot less impressive as time has gone on. But I remember seeing him on OPG and being, hey, this DK kid is not that bad. He played Nidalee good.
Okay, so. For anybody who doesn't know, Penguin's still jungling to this day, and not every single rookie jungler ends up in a position, so maybe Guri has a bright future ahead of him, but we're getting a little bit electrified. We haven't even won this game technically on the side of Saigon, even though we are very much so anticipating that happening sometime in the next few minutes. They're waiting for the Baron buff to pop up, and that should close the game almost certainly, because now you got bottom inhibitor down, you got top and mid inhibitor about to be exposed. DNK's been on this deep flank angle, but there are no towers down for Saigon Buffalo in the mid lane, so it is really hard to find that angle properly as Hasmed steps out into the lane to catch this mid wave just to be a bit of a menace. They're going to put some damage into Hasmed. They're going to try at least, as he's going to throw a bit of healing. He's going to be able to walk backwards the other way. Now you got the rest of the team kind of following up. Enper's going to take some decent damage. That's Guri coming in for the support of the rest of the team. They're going to be able to knock him back into the rocks, and that's Enper going down for basically nothing. I mean, Shogun ultimate and Taki's ultimate were both popped right there, but now you have no front line against this Saigon composition who are just going to grab up the Baron.
Hasmed took about a quarter of his health bar against all of what SBTC was putting out. There was just nothing. There's no point. Take that.
That's
Guri.
A middle finger Ash arrow right there.
You're gonna have to stand still for at least a second.
You don't get to play the game for a little bit.
Yeah.
That's all that's gonna happen. All right, DNK is still on this massive flank. I'm not sure that this is going to work out, but they're going to try to make it work, as that's going to be DNK into the back with the Cyclone, trying to make something happen. Doesn't even get half the health bar of Taki, and now flank angle from Froggy actually gets so much more. Dia1, the last one remaining, and that's going to be the game. Finally going to the side of Saigon Buffalo. They got Baron buff, they got mid lane inhibitor, they got a wave coming in bot side. Enper, keep your stats up, man. You don't have to dive in. You don't have to go crazy here. just pop off. Maybe you could sneak somebody into the fountain with a decent ultimate, but that's about all you're going to be able to do. Is they're going to try to kill him, they're going to knock him into the rocks, they're going to get him stunned up, and he's going to get knocked up for the final time as Saigon Buffalo closes his game 26-7 in kill score, up nearly 20,000 gold at the end of this game. What an insanely good performance and a reverse here from Saigon Buffalo to take us to game 3.
Yeah, just it's kind of the inverse of that first game. Something went wrong very early for the side of SPTC, and they just ran, and it's like on Buffalo, we're able to just ran it through with complete control. We've had back-to-back stomps for either team. That's fun to see, but now we're going to have to see a third game. That is a lot of damage coming out from the side of pretty much everyone on SGB. that Jin putting in a ton of work, and we just see that Callista 5k damage could not participate in this game, just outranged at every moment.
Not having fun by any standard, I think, did Slater in that game. So you could feel a little bit, wishy-washy about how that happened, although he had his fun in the game before. So now we've got the double marksman counter to that Callista bot lane, and heading back to another side swap could be of interest because now Saigon Buffalo has to figure out whether they want to ban that Ashe, whether they don't want to ban that Ashe. It worked out for them in this game. Are they going to go back to Guri? There's so many question marks with everything that's happened. And if you recall, there's like a good amount of that early game that was so kind of, taken towards just some of that level 1 ganking action, level 2, level 3 ganking action from Guri, really hammering down on that bottom side. And as you had predicted at the beginning of the series, it become a very, very big point of contention, as I believe my co-caster has lost her camera.
Yeah, I'm not sure where it went. Everything looks fine on my end. So other than reloading a new video, Ninja, I don't know.
You know what? I tell you what, Mobby, we have a solution for this, right? We're going to take a quick break. We're going to get your camera back, and then we're going to step into game number 3 of our final game of the week here in the second week of VCS Spring 2023. Figure out whether Saigon takes their first victory or if SPTC Esports can get themselves into the middle of the pack, contending for those playoff spots. Find out in just a little bit. Welcome back, everybody, for the final game of the week here in the VCS 2023 spring second week. It's been kind of a crazy last couple weeks of games because everybody's so clustered together in the middle of the pack that we're just trying to get anybody to jump out as front runners and contenders alongside GAM to get going. And now we're already in a draft in game number 3. Keep getting shocked a little bit by some of this as we see Guri in for game number 3. Saigon Buffalo trying out their young jungler and trying to make a statement against the side of SBTC and getting their first win of the year.
Yeah, and we came into this with a focus on the bot lanes, and both of these games have been run by the bot lanes. In the first one, it was Slater and Paulette taking over on the Callisto Ash. Game 2, the Varus Jhin for Shogun and Taki. And now we're just gonna see how it rounds out. The Varus and Ashe have both been banned, so just gonna figure out where things will land. The Tristana takeaway from Froggy.
Okay.
This could go into Dia's hands. We know Dia can play it, but could still find itself in the bot side. Paulette could play Rel next to it and have your standard kill lane from there.
Yeah, you think about where Dia 1 was like 3 years ago when they were playing like on GAM, and you like, was it Tristana mid, Jace mid, Gragas mid? Like, he was so ahead of his time, so transcendent that this should be the meta for him to kind of command things. And the first pick, Tristana, obviously, I think it's a lot flexible a little bit. I wouldn't imagine that it couldn't go to Slater in the right circumstances. It's Jhin, Gragas. I'm not in love with that because I do not want to see the Gragas go to Guri again.
Yeah, I would much rather see Gragas fall into the side of Hasmet or Froggy and build AP. I've not been impressed with the tank Gragas tops we've seen so far. Could fall into the hands of Taki if it in an off chance, but I'm half waiting to see who will pull out Kalista, and maybe Taki bringing out the Kalista support in the VCS. Could be fun to see. He's the one who's played Caitlyn so far, but that's been removed. What comes out for the side of SBTC? They picked up the Sejuani, and I guess there it is, Kalista. And again, still doesn't really tell us anything. Draven Jhin, though.
This might tell us a little bit of something as the Draven getting hovered right now to try to be this incredible use case lane up against the Kalista, which was locked a second ago. We're waiting to see if there's confirmation for the Draven so that we get the Jhin support once again, which was amazing for Taki, and I would not be shocked if they wanted to run it back for the second game in a row. There it is. Yeah, the Draven and Jhin lane is locked in for Shogun Taki, which is insane. we don't always think of Shogun as being this insane lane bully, but I'm happy to see it happen once again because the Varus was really, really good in game number 1. Obviously don't have access to it a second time. So now pairing that up alongside another lethality abuser in the Jhin probably yields good results a second time.
Yeah, and I like the ban strategy to follow up as well, hitting away the Nautilus, trying to take away the options of these big engaged supports that can pair alongside the Callisto and make 2 squishy AD carries regret life if an all-in lands. And I mean, anything paired with the Callisto can absolutely land an all-in. So take away the Amumu, take away the Nautilus. Next on the list would probably be a Leona as a potential for Paulette, but lots of decisions to go for, lots of things to see. Can always just be Callisto support as well. And that's...
The flex is always possible, and I don't think it would be ridiculous for Paulette to actually run that. I was surprised because I was trying to pick out what champion was gone from the first rotation of bans, and I'm like, Annie is still available the whole time. I'm like, oh wow, Annie's still available. And only just now is Annie taken. This has to be one of the latest Annies I've seen in drafts actually kind of taken in and out of most circumstances. Likely going into the mid lane now that we see the Jhin and the Draven, unless we're really flexing something for Hasmet here. So very, very likely going to be going over to Froggy as this kind of blind pick mid lane. A Soraka would be unreal to see come out here for Paulette. That would be very, very different from what we normally get, as now we get the Camille instead locked first. We're trying to figure out what that support is going to be. Maybe it is just the Kalista support. We're going to end up in a situation with Tristana Kalista bot lane.
No, but then which one of these is mid lane? If that Gwen locks in, I am going to be very
Camille confused. Support, maybe?
And
is it Camille support?
I would have to suppose that would be the case. That would be my guess, as it is a Gwen lock-in, and then we have to see how they round out the composition. Where's this Gragas going to end up? Top or bot? Top or bot? I still think it would be a fun, good, decent top laner. Maybe not as much into the Gwen rather. So it will find itself in the jungle unless there are further shenanigans afoot. Jhin mid is definitely something that has existed in solo queue.
I don't
know.
I don't think that's going to be the case. It's likely to be just the Gragas in the jungle, the Annie in the mid lane, and then it's probably, if I had to take a guess, we're going to see the Camille support, which is funny because the first person to do that was Taki, who kind of flexed it for the squad, actually had a really good game on it from back in the day. And obviously not the first one ever to play it, but the first one in the last couple of years before that champion got changed quite a bit after its inception, made a very interesting support. Now playing it against its own creator, Palette dares to step to the king. Do you like the little shift? Do you like the adaptation now? Double marksman on the bottom side have to deal with the diver that is Camille.
Yeah, I'm a bit surprised that it is Camille. Because I think Camille is probably a bit too squishy to really land on what the kill lane wants to go for, which is something big and in your face that can tank up the double marksman. I don't think Camille has that. Sure, she has a lot of burst and decent CC. But I feel it's not what I was expecting. It's definitely not what I was expecting, and just it almost makes me lean to, because that in my mind doesn't work. Is it Camille mid? Because that to me works better.
Well, let's find out, Bobby, because we're about to get onto the Rift for our final game of the week as Saigon Buffalo takes on SBTC Esports. Both teams trying to really establish a foothold, get themselves cemented in a position to be able to walk into playoffs. And with Saigon already down 2 games in the split, far more important, SBTC Esports wants to make it happen as well. Oh. And we do end up, it is going to be the Camille support for Palette. Hail of Blades, Camille support.
Camille support.
Wow. What? Okay. What a call coming out here from SBTC Esports. And gotta give some props to Colette pulling a Taki against Taki. It's a bold maneuver, Cotton. We'll have to see how it works out for him.
Yeah, this is insane. I see this. This is gonna either go 10-0 or 0-10. I see no other future for this. Hail of Blades, Camille support. I'm flabbergasted. I don't know what else to say about that, so I'm going to look elsewhere and look towards Dio1. He was a menace in 2020 on this Tristana, and now he has to play against Froggy's Annie. Annie can definitely do a lot of heavy trading, level 1, and we'll be building towards that roller most likely, so should be safe in all-in potentials, and, you know, with the nature of her new E, can reflect a decent chunk of damage back at Dio1 when he tries to go for these poke trades. But I do think Dio1 should be able to have that great control over the mid lane and be able to influence the other sides of the map. God, we're just watching this, seeing if this can work. Waiting for that level 2, most definitely.
One kind of minor thing to note is that if you've got a Sejuani in the jungle, you always want to play it with melee champions. So Sejuani playing with double range bot lanes is not always super favorable. With the Hail of Blades, if Sejuani's around, you can actually stack the Sejuani passive against this bot lane a lot faster if the hook shot's not sufficient. So there's this like really weird mechanic where I'm curious if that was any of the intention behind grabbing this champion. I feel like there's other champions that can do it just as easily, if not better. Froggy, you're able to trade back a little bit of damage. The shield is going to be enough, and the stun as well as the auto attack range helpful to equalize that trade a little bit. Guri is here for an invade against DNK, does spot him out for just a 10th of a second, and is just going to ditch as fast as possible here to cover their bot lane on this push that they've got already.
Yeah, we saw a little bit of a move from Palette to potentially cut him off if he stayed a little too long, but all in all, just some trading back and forth, very even in these lanes. Control, as you'd expect, going to the double marksman. I'm just waiting for it to explode. I'm just holding my breath on this bot lane, because any moment the hook shot's going to come out. Level 3, now available. Palette stepping up.
Shogun's also got level 3 now, so that means that the stand aside is going to be... That was a ton of damage. What happened to Shogun? He just disappeared from the rift, and there was nothing else to talk about. Now Taki's going to run directly at Guri. Froggy's actually coming up from behind
Hello,
as well.
Froggy.
He was going to stick on Palette. I don't think the hook shot is available. Flash is not available either. So it is going to end up being a trade given over to Taki more than anybody else. I need that replay. What happened to Shogun's help bar? He bopped the heel as well. He just disappeared.
Absolutely melted, and that's the Draven as well getting removed. So any of those early stacks have just been taken away, and so much damage. The Q just coming out 1, 2, 3, absolutely huge. I mean, great decision making from Taki, knowing that Palette's gonna have that shield, that Hextech alternator shield or whatever it's called. That's goes at match AD damage and just turns straight onto Shogun. Slater rather, and kills him, and then or takes him out of the fight at least. And it's just insane. And Palette's gone for a little wander. He's gonna take a tiki tour of Blue Side Jungle and find a fat man.
Where are we going?
That is not Palette.
Now Shogun gets to collect on this one, I think. Yeah. Well, I don't know what that was, but you know what? I'm not even going to give him the benefit of the doubt. That was ridiculous. So maybe looking for wards. I think probably what it was is he was looking for wards, got wrapped around on, tried to get away, and then was just like stuck, and there was nowhere for him to go, so he just wasted a little bit of time. But it was a very strange play. The all-in at that level 1 was far more menacing. I think you could have expected it to be. In fairness, it's Callista Camille with Hail of Blades, so it's like, okay, I'm like, okay, you get power damage, you get 3 auto attacks super fast, you get the rend as well. There's so much that goes into it. But now the bot lane equalized a little bit more because of the extra kill that just got given over to Shogun for free.
Yeah, I mean, the silver lining, I guess, for Palette is that you did kill the Draven, so he didn't have a ton of stacks to cash in there when he gave the freebie over, but he's still going. He's on a melee support, and his instinct is, I must roam. I must be free. I do not wish to talk to this bot laner any longer. He's just going for a little walk, trying to make sure where Guri is, and Guri is paying a lot of attention to this bot lane because, I mean, this series so far has been determined by these bot lanes, just one of them blowing open, and now it's here for the party. Both junglers are here.
He sneak around that ward. They saw him come in here, right? Okay, now they definitely saw him come in here. I was like, for a second there, it looked like they weren't reacting to Guri kind of existing by any standard. DNK's here for a counter gank in case any sort of aggression comes through. Palette to try to set this up with a hook shot. Just waiting to see if anything kind of breaks, because they know where Guri is. Guri does not know where DNK is. DNK is up about a level right now. I think he's farmed 1 additional camp, soaked a little bit of this minion. Now they actually do know Slater has been taken. Flash coming through to get out of the way of DNK. That is Shogun burning the Flash just to make sure there's no aggression to come through. Not much else on the tail end of this play, so just going to fall to pieces right then and right there. And a shove coming out now from the SGB ball lane.
So in the end, it fizzles out, and it's just a small victory coming out from the side of SBTC. And on the top side, Emperor's continued to sort of try and put his foot down and assert some dominance. He's only going to have a very small lead as Hosman wants revenge
trying to
for
find
the first
something.
game.
Yeah, Q is not going to tag. The Q might have been enough for the slow to actually proc because the Ghost was down. Now a Dragon is underway here for the side of SGB. They're looking. Guri's going to be able to pick it up. And now is there counterplay? Are they going to look for something on the other side? Froggy has level 6 and has enough to work with. The stun was up. Actually caught all 3 of them at a little bit of a choke point. No Tivers available, actually, now that I'm looking at it. That was a solid disengage. DNK once again goes in with the flash and cannot find anything. Slowed up. Now Dia1 jumps in trying to find Shogun. Will he get the reset on this? He will not, and actually running directly in. Now, actually stuck in a really bad position because I don't think he has the hop.
He will have the reset.
There we go.
He should have the reset.
I don't think so. Not yet. Yeah, half health. Nothing crazy. SBTCE steps up in the jungle but cannot find anything against Saigon.
Yeah, interesting. I thought he popped the bomb fully, but it still doesn't seem to be the case. And it has been Froggy being able to control these first roams, and Dia1 playing with so much respect, buying that early Hex Trinket, just scared of the free stuns and free damage that Froggy can trade onto him. That was a lot committed for absolutely nothing in the bot lanes though. Okay, Husband's gonna go in. It shouldn't amount to anything. But
good amount of damage on the Emperor. Yeah, good amount of damage on the Emperor. Kick them out of the laning phase a little bit.
Okay, now Dia's on the roam. Taki doing a little bit of clearing. Could find himself in trouble.
Nothing crazy. Guri's also within range, although doesn't have a blue buff right now, so there's that. That's going to be an easy win into Shogun. Shogun just gets jumped on. Yeah, that's Shogun get be too far up in the laning phase. They're not sure where DNK is. A lot of control around the Dragon Pit in terms of vision from SBTC Esports, but very little respect given over, as that's going to be the Draven shut down once again.
Yeah, great playing around the flash, but this play might continue. Oh.
Just a little bit. A lot of weight there from Guri. Nah, it was a little disastrous, to say the least, but nothing gained, nothing lost in this particular play outside of the one kill, so they're happy walking away with the one assassination on a Shogun and just kind of leaving everything else to the way it is.
Yeah, and everything else pretty much is even. There's that small assist gold onto Froggy in the mid lane, but that should be counterbalanced a little bit by the CS, and yeah, Shogun's just pushed too far up, and he doesn't have that flash from that earlier bot lane play, so it's easy picking from the side of SBTC. And hello, Tibbers. Join the party. We love a good Tibbers.
Actually popped a couple of times there, just that Tibbers is utilized up against Dia1, dropped most of the health bar of Dia1, under half now. But nothing else. No Rift Herald has been taken. We're 10 minutes into the game. No Rift Herald. Paulette is also still here. Guri is here on the cover, as well as Froggy down out to the bot side, as they're going to try to attempt to grab some additional plates off of this bottom lane tower, which is going to work out pretty well. Grab at least the one, get a little bit of the second one off as well, and now everybody back to their own devices, back to their own lanes. Froggy not going to miss all that much CS. Guri should be able to go back and continue this coverage, whatever he wants to do now.
Yeah, Dia been a bit slow on the push. Can't really trade the plate in towards the mid lane, and both junglers just sort of hanging around the bot lane once again. Taki stepping up.
Back to the bottom side, and another ultimate onto the Draven. Big task, though, is going to do quite a bit of damage. Guri not able to find the one kill. Can Taki kind of clean up on the backside of this one? Because I don't think Guri's going to be able to assist. No, he will not, as that's going to be 2 kills going back over to the Kalista. Now the ultimate's going to get popped. Is Paulette going to go diving, looking for something? Paulette is going to cover Slater. Cannot quite find the angle to be able to tag onto the Kalista. Is now under the top tower. Hosband's going to get doped by Dia1 as well. Doesn't even come close to having the Mega Gnar. The flash had to be burned by Dia1 so he could get out. And now all of a sudden, SBTC Esports shoots off to the races in this game.
Yeah, I can't complain. 3 kills across the map. A couple of flashes blown. Nice room from Dia1 to punch the top side. And in the bot side, we just got to see Taki pushing up a little bit too far forward, and once again Shogun punished without having that flash available. The Glacial Prison lands, and they see, oh, we've got the Draven. Turn, kill him instantly. It's a nice attempt as a comeback, but Taki just can't quite get it done. And then we see that permafrost stacking with the Camille, as sort of you mentioned earlier, able to secure the second.
Not to mention, a little disjoint right there was really unfortunate, because the Gragas ultimate had actually knocked Slater out of what the ultimate that had been popped by Shogun. So the Draven ultimate would have probably had the damage to kill at the end of that one. So Paulette now trying to jump away is probably going to get brought down underneath the tower. Oh, the shield protect! Oh, never mind. Okay, the hyper proc does end up getting him, which is that was way too close for comfort in my opinion. As another plate's going to get ripped off the mid lane here. Saigon Buffalo trying to trade some amount of gold back, and are able to get a little bit here, and he's going to catch the bot wave. They're not going to lose all that much, and they'll have first step at Dragon without Paulette around. They're down Vision, and they're down a member for the next couple of seconds.
Yeah, gonna probably be a comfortable Dragon for the side of SGB, though DNK is poking his head in. And on the top side, maybe a plate or two for Enpa coming as well. Bit of a Tibbers bounce. Just Annie taking a bit of a beating from Slater, it looks like, and in the end, it will actually be SBTC able to find their way into the Dragon. And we missed this, apparently. Froggy get Dia1 going all in onto Froggy, and Dia1 just able to walk away. And yeah, okay, this is how Paulette essentially got caught out. He went into sort of trying to assist Dia1, and they turned and burned him instead. And Hyper is fun. Hyper is a good ability.
It does magic damage too, so it ignored that physical damage shield, which is kind of cool. After everything's said and done, SBTC Esports, they are the ones that actually end up grabbing the Dragon. Saigon, they kind of had first move, but they were down a number of cooldowns. They were down enough health bar, I think, on Froggy that they didn't really want to make that aggressive of a play. So they end up leaving that situation. as a few items getting completed here from Saigon Buffalo. You have the Night Harvester now done for Guri, and you actually have the Essence Reaver now done for Shogun. So you're starting to get onto a couple of your items that are going to be necessary. But for SBTC Esports, it's again Slater on this big advantage on the Callista, and this Gwen. That's just kind of been hyper farming, hyper preparing for the later stage of the game, as Emperor has just been allowed to free farm all game long.
Yeah, and we see Guri just sort of trying to struggling to keep up. He's been focused on keeping this bot lane okay, and as a result, he's fallen a bit behind the Sejuani, so not quite as comfortable in his pathing of making sure he can collect camps and cover his lanes on this ganking jungler. But now, Froggy leveling up, charging at Slater, but they're just fighting for mid lane position and ignoring this Rift Tower. It's pretty late. The tower plates have already fallen, so it's not as big a cash-in as it could have been, but there are a lot of low towers that are guaranteed to break wherever this Rift Tower goes.
Yeah, all three of SGB's outer towers are actually cracked to about a third health. I think any of them would die to a single charge relatively easily. In fact, Emperor just pulled first tower. I believe that's solo off the back of just pressuring consistently. Hosmed roaming a little bit. It's a couple of things. As Paulette finds a good angle on the opposite side, Hosmed's going to take a bunch of damage, not going to be able to gnaw her out, and it's just going to die on the top side of the map here. This doesn't bode well. Now you've got Paulette roaming. Now you've got Rift Herald pressure. Now you've got towers falling. Saigon Buffalo.
Yep. You have a 2-kill first tower blood Gwen on the side lane. She is fully happy. She's raced to her mythic item, and she's well on her way to getting second items. She has been fed, and this will be a menace in the back line. And this Draven has a kill, but it was a very meager cash-in. It didn't really count because it came just after a death. And he's been punished. He's been taken out 3 times, so hasn't not been doing well. He's got less than 100 stacks right at the moment, and he is just falling further and further behind, and we're starting to see. And this Camille support, it was a big question mark, but it is working out extremely well. 4 kills in the bot side overall, and it's died a little bit, but one of those was an absolute gimme as he went for a stroll under the enemy turrets. So yeah, it's going quite well, and the side lane pressure from SBTC is just non-stop. Hold that, the fight not gonna actually come out, but Paulette got a little bit excited.
Nothing's sticking right there. Yeah, Paulette is just like, he's always ready with the hook shot. I was surprised that Shogun wasn't able to disrupt him with the stand aside. It seems like Shogun's not super familiar with the interaction that you can potentially cancel it. Not necessarily the hook shot portion, but the second portion of the jump in. That if you hit them, they're just knocked out of it and then they're stuck in place, which might have led to more auto attacks, a bit more of a commitment from Saigon Buffalo. Still haven't seen that one actually get used up to its fullest here for the Draven. And now, I mean, SPTCE, how do you not feel good if you're them, right? You're Callista, so you're controlling neutral objectives really effectively. You've got the Rend alongside the Smite. You've got this Gwen, who's an amazing team fighter. Emperor's one of the better team fighters out of a top lane carry position that we have inside of the VCS. Like, you're in a great position inside of this game. And Saigon Buffalo, once again, has just fallen to the wayside without much of a fight.
Yep, and furthermore, this time around, compared to Game 1, they have a Tristana, so their siege is actually really strong right now. Mm-hmm. They're not quite struggling with being able to hit turrets and push waves. And side lane, this 1-3-1 has worked out fantastically so far. Emperor is just crashing onto that second top tier tower now.
Goodness gracious.
And they can just pull at SGB around the map and have full control over this bot lane pit. That's how it just falls on the top side. Someone's going to have to go respond eventually. It's going to be Husmed now. But then that just opens up Tier 1 to go bot lane and hard shove that one. And this dragon does now belong to SGB in terms of positioning. But I think SBTC are more than happy to fight that out now the Rift Herald has dropped and is going for that mid lane.
Interesting. You actually had a number of things kind of happen right there because there's a TP from Emperor trying to find maybe a play onto the mid lane. They're looking to try to pressure down this tower with the Rift Herald. They will crack on the Rift Herald charge. So that is another tower going down for the side of SPTC Esports. Froggy finds a stun onto a level 8 Paulette and barely does any damage as now it's the dragon that they're looking for, and it's easy enough. Once again, with not only Camille true damage, you've also got the Ren stacks coming through from Callista. It's really, really simple to just take neutral objectives. There's very little that Saigon Buffalo can actually do to even contest a fight. They're going to drop Tibbers. They're going to find a kill immediately. Now Paulette tries to separate everybody. He's going to go down as well. Emperor on the front end of this fight trying to get some damage down. Is not going to be able to kind of get anything else to run for their life. Shogun trying to find some additional damage. That's one down. Hospit is also going to fall at the front end of this fight as Dia1 starting to get some reset coming through. DNK is getting about one. Guri is on the front line trying to find Dia1, but doesn't have the damage. This is a 3-for-3 so far. Taki and Froggy still alive.
So this is angry.
That's going to be a flash auto from Taki, who cleans up the fight. And now DNK on the back end against two squishies. Can the Sejuani get it done? Are they going to have the CC? They're going to be able to CC up DNK to the ends of the earth. And Saigon Buffalo with their Annie and support Jin end up cleaning the remainder of the fight, 5 members down in exchange for that dragon. What a play.
In the end, SGB, they just fought dirty. They deleted Slater instantly, and they brought a 6th man to the fight. Hello Tibbers just comes in and is doing so much work in this fight. Man, that's just nothing Paulette can do. He tries to get his team out, but Emperor sees the angle with DNK. Those ultimates do a good chunk of damage to SGB, but in the end, Tibbers gets angry and Tibbers can just chase Dia1 down under tower. Lets Taki finish it off with a flash kill, and then, hey, they can do the same thing for DNK. He tries to escape, but send in the bear to tank up the tower and just slowly whittle him down. He's only a jungle Sejuani. He's not very tanky.
The game was beginning to spiral there for a minute for Saigon Buffalo. It looked like SPTCE was heading towards another win, and yet out of what seems like nowhere, Saigon Buffalo finds a good fight with all this AoE damage that they've gotten. Now look, Froggy's getting close to Rabadon's completion. I've seen this a couple of times today now where Rabadon's is the second item alongside Rod of Ages, and it's just a ridiculous amount of pure magic damage. Although against the number of people with magicers, because you've now got you got Maw Malmorius, you've got Wit's End, like people are prepared for this, so I'm a little upset that this was still the standard build for Froggy instead of going for like Void or Shadow Flame, even something like that. But one way or another, you're going to be hitting like a nuke once that Rabadon's is completed. So that's where maybe the Annie is going to start to be able to create fights. As the Baron is started up by Slater and by DNK, they have full vision of this. They understand that it is coming. Slater just barely doesn't get hit by that shot. They're going to turn off of it immediately, try to look for Guri to the best of their abilities. Has the ultimate thrown, has wasted it. That's going to be the pullback. They're going to look for Guri again. Paulette isn't able to get it, but they are able to find the kill on the back end, as that's going to be Slater grabbing that up. Hosmed just running out of Meganar as well. Might sport a restart of the Baron here now.
Yeah, and the whole time Dia1 has been left alone on the sideline. That was essentially...
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to necessarily say a 4v5 because SGB weren't actually responding in a manner of actually trying to fight, but they are down 5,000 gold. They've lost their jungler. I think the play for SGB is just to bully through mid and try and take some tower with the bounty.
Big fight potential if Froggy can actually get in with the bear. They're going to find a stun directly onto one. On the right side of the fight, Emperor is here trying to fight out Taki, who has this massive shutdown. They got to keep Taki alive. It's not going to happen, but they do get a shutdown now for Shogun, who can maybe pop off onto Dia1. Not enough auto attacks, and Slater is the one that actually gets there in time. Hosmed not able to find the damage either as Guri comes in to try to help out Slater, try to keep alive Annie. They're going to be able to put out damage, but they just don't have it, as Hosmed as well is trying to run down a couple of remaining members. Paulette is going to be able to hook shot away, as now across the board, Saigon Buffalo just gets scattered to the wind, lost the Baron buff, and has nothing remaining. DNK is looking for something. Can Hosmed clean his way out of the situation? Because there are low members. They have potential. It's not going to happen. The jump away is not going to get him anything. Guri doesn't have the damage. He can't kill Dia1. The Maw was able to protect him, and now Guri's just going to die on the back end of this one. Does he have the health? He does not have the health. He's just going to go down to that, and that is Saigon Buffalo trying to fight their way out of trouble, and instead losing the game nearly off the back of it.
And with that, there's a minute until Dragon. It is going to be a lot of control for the side of SPTC. They can play off these lanes beautifully, and it starts off with this. The solo lane is just tearing the backline apart. Shogun is able to cash in on Emperor, and that will help a lot as time goes on, but Slater is able to just run past Hosmed because Hosmed didn't have his mega form. He was not really a true champion, and then Slater's essentially able to 1v2 on the backline. Guri has no damage really at this point, and he'd already dealt with Annie. And then from here, DR1 picked up his red buff, and they just ran to cut off Hasmed. It just cut him down, and from there, yeah, they're just trying to catch anything, but Guri's just not able to get through the more Melodious, and then red buff plus satchel charge just runs him down and lets him walk away to explode.
Way too simple. It feels like overextensions in a couple of places and nice diving actually coming in. A lot of members on the side of SBTC Esports are really crazy threats against Saigon Buffalo's composition. You saw Slater kind of go sicko mode is what I'll call it in the midst of that fight, being able to kind of bounce to the back and do anything he wants into the back line, and nobody really can test him. One thing that did happen, Infinity Edge did get completed for Shogun here, so the Draven on a one or two lucky crates could legitimately one or two shot a handful of members on this SBTC composition. Perhaps that's a bit of copium, as they're currently defending their base against the Baron buff push that SBTC has leveled out. Not to mention Infernal Soul once again, and Infernal Dragon 2 is going to be in the pockets of SBTC. They're on their third dragon of the game. It is all too easy for them to play this one out until that mark and try to play for the Infernal Soul.
But you're talking about the Infinity Edge on Shogun, but across the way, Enper has picked up 3 items, and that 3-item Gwen is a win condition in itself. And it's going to be bolstered by DNK, who has not gone for the silly bargain basement Warmogs. He has gone straight in for maximum team fight potential, picking up that Radiant Virtue, wants to keep Slater, Dia, and Enpa alive as they go all in on SGB. And that, so far, has worked out very well for them. And I'm very happy to see a Sejuani actually build to be a tanky pig themselves, rather than just, oh, I'm going to take a little bit of damage and try my best to run away to heal it up. Because in a composition like this, that's exactly what they need. And I see too many Sejuanis just autopilot to the Warmogs.
Something that I'm noticing also is that SPTC, when they're finding these fights, they're always getting good angles. In that last one, it was a solid angle from Enper, who was able to get like this big flank off in the same way that like Camille can jump over walls, Dia1 can jump into positions that are unexpected. And so Saigon Buffalo isn't really fighting in a line like they kind of want. You want to be able to like dump abilities from Froggy onto somebody. Shogun wants to be able to auto attack single members at a time. Taki would really appreciate that as well, I think. But SPTC is not giving them that option, never clustering, never giving them a chance to really focus down individual targets without any other kind of recompense coming through. And so SPTC tactically just advance in every single way. Big knockback in the rest of the team. Slater's going to go down to Annie, as that's going to be a big pickup for Froggy. A solid shutdown that should give quite a bit of gold over to one of the bigger mages. Now Guri and Hasmed getting jumped on by DNK. Will there be more? Guri is just getting absolutely wrecked by Enper. This is where I want to see Shogun go crazy, though, because he's got the damage to potentially run this fight. On the backline, trying to be going into Shogun as well. Who's going to push him back. Froggy now is the only one left, and everybody has just died on Saigon Buffalo. I don't know how it happened, but in the end, Dia1 is the one that's kind of clutching up everything, comes in on the backside of the fight, and cleans nearly everything off the map. They don't have the wave right now, but that's all they're waiting for to try to close out this game. Mobby, I think SPTC has taken this one.
Yeah, they commit everything to kill Slater, but there are so many more carries left alive. Emperor is able to basically solo out Hasmed and Guri, and then when Shogun steps up to do something, a Dia1 comes and Goomba stomps him on the head. And now that's it. That's SGB going to go 0-3.
Yeah.
And such a disastrous start for our former World representatives, our former MSI representatives. They have struggled before in the start split, but this has got to be crushing for them.
Yeah, players not playing to their full potential, and it feels like the team is just not playing the way that we have seen them play in the past. Their team fighting is not nearly as good as it was. We always knew them as a team that could take it late. I mean, that was one of the big things they had against Scam, is that if the game went hyper late and you went on a full team fighting, that usually they would be able to actually take that kind of big engagement. It just has not been the case for them this split. And for SPTC, another big win. You think about what they've been able to accomplish so far. Team Secret, right in the middle of the standings, dead even at a 2-2. Saigon Buffaloes at an 0-3, but we expect them to make a turnaround at some point against some of the teams here in the league. Maybe that's not going to be the case after what happened today. But SPTC taking wins against Saigon and against Team Secret this early in the season means that they're in a pretty solid place to be looking for that 4th place spot, their 3rd place spot, depending on Team Wales and Cerberus's kind of progression over the course of the split. So that's kind of where I'm slotting them at the moment, is right at that line at playoffs of being like, if you beat SPTC, if you can kind of beat them out for the title, that's when you make that playoff run for Team Flash or Team Secret or Saigon in the long run.
Yeah, And I mean, I think we have to say Ren won the breakup. He's coming. He's done wonders for this SPTC team. They look a lot more coherent than they have in the past, and yeesh, their solo lanes have been doing a lot of work, and we just can see the targeted attempts to just ruin Shogun's day as Taki ends up outdoing him in the damage department. But because Shogun is just dead for half of the early game because they just kept killing him over and over, this Draven just didn't get to play. And
Not really. Yeah, it was
SPTC ran it.
mhm.
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
go on.
it's one of those things that, like, again, we knew bot lane focus was going to be a really massive part of the series, and it kept being a massive part of the series. If it had been left alone enough, then like it felt like this third game, Saigon Buffalo was winning consistently, and it was just you have to give a bunch of credit to DNK because DNK in game 1 and game 3 like legitimately camped on bottom side and just said, "You're not winning this one," right? They felt comfortable that Emperor was going to beat Hosmed, and that happened multiple games in a row, which is already a concerning sign that Hosmed is maybe not playing at the absolute pinnacle of what we know he can. And then mid lane was a bit back and forth, although I will say I think Froggy got the better end of DL1 most of the time during the day, but it just wasn't anywhere near enough to where like they could overcome the bot lane advantage that was being generated by DNK's ganking down there consistently, threw off so much of the rhythm that Saigon Buffalo wanted to play with.
Yeah, I definitely think some of the drafts went completely out of the way that they were planned. Especially that game 3 draft, rather. I think that went completely out of the way that SGB was trying to set it up. They weren't quite. I don't think they were expecting the Tristana insta-lock and then follow it up with that Callisto. And I mean, they definitely weren't expecting the Camille. But I feel like that Gragas probably was not intended to go jungle, and then they just sort of found themselves going, hang on, if we want decent matchups, we kind of have to put this Scrag in our lanes. We have to put this Gragas jungle, and that we saw in game 1 that wasn't the most comfortable for Guri. In the second one, he looked a little bit better, but he still seemed to just lag behind DNK in terms of covering his lanes. And because that is the type of jungler DNK is, he plays for his lanes. He plays to set up his carries rather than be that carry. So that's why he struggled in a couple of the splits previously, because we had a much more farm jungle focused meta. But in this one, this sort of meta, he can shine.
Yeah, I'm excited that SPTC is kind of showing signs of brilliancy that I don't know that they're perfectly meta adept at this point. Again, like I think the Slater Paulette stuff was really good for the day, but I don't know it's something that's going to carry over forever. But like you said, the DNK being able to help set up lanes and Enper being as beast of a player that he is, being able to pull out things like the Gwen, things like the Fiora, and just lane dominating champions and crush top lane matchups as much as he has been already this season, to me speaks kind of miles to SPTC's kind of adaptability for what this meta is to bring in the future. For Saigon, I think they're struggling. I think their problem is that they do not know whether they should be ganking with their junglers or farming with their junglers. And BJ and Guri, both to me, are different sides of the same coin of trying to play more for the jungler than trying to play more for the lanes. And so now they're like, okay, if we're picking double marksman bot lane, if we're picking Froggy, a regular mage in the mid lane, we might pick Hosmed a tank, but we cannot figure out how in the world we're supposed to use our jungler. And so that to me is their number one diagnosis and the thing I want to see them improve on for week 3 and week 4.
Yeah, they need to sort out their jungle situation. I don't think BJ was particularly bad in the other matchups. I don't mind seeing Guri getting a shot, but I feel like you're more likely to settle into something with BJ. I mean,
Agreed.
There's still those 2 wins you had. BJ looked fantastic, especially on that first Nidalee. I feel like they suffered a lot from this in this series, in the same way that that SPTC suffered in their series against Wales, where they were trying weird stuff with DL1. DL1 on these big sort of lane bully carries that he knows how he's very competent on, looks fantastic. Seraphine and Rumble, not his wheelhouse. And I think they've settled into that for this series. You know, the Renekton, the Tristana, even the Gragas. I think they've figured out their identity a lot more, have SPTC, and I can see them easily being in that 4th playoff spot behind Wales, Cerberus again.
Yeah, at least for now. Coming into the close of the week, again, Gam stands at number 1. I think it's Wales at number 2, and then it'll be Cerberus at number 3, or maybe Cerberus at number 2 and Wales at number 3, something like that, because I don't think Wales has played as many games as Cerberus. With
Yeah.
SBTC sitting in 4th place because they currently have a slightly better record. They have the same number of wins as Team Secret, but they beat Team Secret. Hello, Pippin.
Hello.
Nice to see you again.
Hello, Pippin.
And then there's the chase as well, where like you've got like Team Flash is right there. We're still expecting a Saigon comeback if they can get their identity kind of behind them. It's an exciting middle of the split, but I'm glad to see a lot of teams again kind of poking their heads back into the midst of everything and being as competitive as they have been. Our split so far is already shaping up to be a really, really close one, all the way down to a photo finish in the final week.
Yeah, and we've already seen, even though Gamma are undefeated, we saw Wales sort of almost take away that series. They were in such a commanding position game 3. Cerberus absolutely looked like they could take it to them as well, and that was before Ego came back in. And he was out for some reason in the first few games. I've heard sickness, but in the end, he came in. He looked absolutely dominant today, and Cerberus looked amazing. So, come second round robin, if he goes in, I think I might be in for might be sweating when that time comes.
Lots of questions still to be answered here inside the VCS as we wrap up our week number 2. I want to thank everybody for showing up today. I think Pippin is trying to drag Mobby off, so for whatever reason. So we're gonna entice Pippin.
It's past my bedtime.
Yes, very, very much so. So we will yield yourself to Pippin. Thank you for joining on the broadcast, obviously. Thank you, everybody, for watching. If you want to support, again, follow on Twitch, on Twitter. There's a Discord, all the stuff for VCS English, all over the place that we're going to keep doing this. We've done this for years, and we're going to keep on doing it. So if you want, next week starts on Thursday, as usual. This time, it's not going to start at 3 in the morning, which I personally am very thankful for. So we have that excitement coming up. We're going to find more about who is going to be making this playoff push, who is going to be establishing as some of our dominant teams walking into the end of the split. From all of us here at VCS English on the broadcast crew, thanks so much for stopping by, and we'll see you again next Thursday.
Bye.